Greetings, Earthlings and humans, doppelgangers, Nephilim, clones. I don't know, whatever you got, you're welcome here. I don't know who you are or where you're from or what you're doing, but you should stop here because, you know, this is the one-stop place for truth in all its forms. And I also want to welcome all animals because, as we all know, animals are far smarter than human beings, and they love the sound of my voice. People have sent me all kind of videos of their animals loving on my voice. They love me because they, being smarter than humans, are acutely aware of the fact that my voice heralds a new age, an age of intelligence, and that finally, after all these horrible things we've gone through, a voice of intelligence has actually pierced this realm of unified bullshit. Welcome to the Roseanne Barr podcast.
Oh, you see, my patience is growing thin.
Well, it's going to be a banger of a show today. As you know, I only like to interview geniuses, and I have a real genius with me today, and I cannot believe the amount of information she can contain in her beautiful head. She's a gorgeous woman and a genius, and also a hero. And I'm so happy to have her here, Lara Logan. Hi, Lara.
Hi, Roseanne.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Again, you did crash the Ivan Raiklan show, but now you're here by yourself with your own mic.
I crashed Ivan's show. He invited me, in fairness.
No, I know.
We wanted you here instead of him. We were only having him on to get to you.
No,
Ivan is a genius.
He is a genius.
Mm-hmm.
That's
he
one
really
word.
Is.
I mean, he can spout fact.
Well, unbelievable.
That's a genius, right? Somebody who can spout fact, not propaganda.
Well, I think Ivan's capacity to understand it all and to link it all, and then combined with the fact that have you ever seen anyone in your life who really doesn't give a fuck? That's Ivan.
My mother and you.
Oh, well, yeah, and you.
And you.
Well, but I mean, Ivan walks up to. Have you seen him on the hill? They see Ivan coming now. I'm sure they're terrified because he walked right up to the head of the CDC and he said something to her. He introduced himself. You know, she's coming in to testify. She thinks she knows him, and he says something along the lines of, "How do you feel about the fact that you have murdered all these people?"
Isn't that great?
Yes,
it's a time for that.
It is the time for that.
You know, I used to be a big fan of yours on 60 Minutes. You were all over 60 Minutes and did such great reports.
Thank you.
Did you love that job? I bet you did.
I did. I loved it. And I worked with, you know, when you work with people that are really good at what they do, but I filtered out a lot of the crap, you know, because some people who are really good at what they do are real assholes as well. And I just realized, I surrounded myself with the people who were great at what they did, but also great human beings.
That's rare, but you can find them, right? But you got to search.
Well, yes, and it was my little bubble, right? Because all across the floor there were plenty of assholes. But that was, you know, talk about band of brothers. When you've imagine, you know, I mean, I've been gang raped and sodomized and beaten almost to death, and these are the people that are at my side, right? And or you're in a sewage canal.
That was as a journalist.
That was for 60 Minutes. That was working for 60 Minutes in Egypt, minutes after Hosni Mubarak stepped down. And actually, Richard and Jeff, who were with me, and Max McClellan and Richard Butler and Jeff Newton, just some of the best journalists, best people I've ever known. But two of them slept in the room with me, but I was so afraid after what I had survived, and I just really I wanted them close, and they both slept on the floor because they didn't want to, nobody knows what to do with you when you've been raped, you know what I mean? There's no playbook for that. Nobody wants to look in your eyes, nobody wants to touch you. Nobody knows what the hell. I mean, if somebody's leg is blown off, you know what you got to do, right? You got to get them medical help, and you can help someone to their chair, or you can get them something if they need to eat or whatever. But you know what's expected of you. In that moment, no one knows what to do, is what I discovered. So they slept on the floor, and I spent all night, having nightmares because I felt so alone, and they didn't want to invade my space because I'd been invaded, literally, by hundreds of men. So It's just, these are the kind of people that I worked with. I mean, we were blown up together, Jeff and I, in 2003 on the Afghan-Pakistani border. We hit a double anti-tank mine and almost died. He thought I was dead, actually, because I was unconscious, but my eyes were wide open and blood pouring out of my mouth. And he was lying on top of me screaming. And I didn't know. I mean, I could vaguely hear this voice somewhere in the distance. And he was lying on top of me, an inch from my face, screaming. So we've been through a lot together, plus all those long nights at 60 Minutes, rewriting your script for the 197,000th time, fighting over one word for 4 hours, because we're all perfectionists and we're aspiring to be as great as that show can be at its height. That's the goal. It's the Holy Grail. So why wouldn't you fight for the Holy Grail every time you step out the door? Those are the people I love all of them. So that's what I really miss. I miss the work, of course, but I really miss those kind of people best.
The cool thing about Beam Powder, I'll let you tell the people where to go and get it. There's a lot of sleep aid stuff, but this is
it's delicious.
It's
a
good.
Real treat. It's like, warm cocoa before bed when you were a kid.
Yeah, it's like a little smoothie. And what's cool about it is I had to write it out because I can't pronounce half this stuff, but it has reishi, which is like a mushroom, I think, magnesium,
it's a healing mushroom, right?
L-theanine, apigen, and melatonin, all stuff that's designed to help you sleep. It's all natural. So they basically took everything that works and they put it in this little shake. You mix it up and it's great.
Well, right now, Beam is offering our listeners exclusive early access to their Black Friday sale. This is their biggest sale of the year, and our listeners can shop it early before anybody else. Get up to 50% off when you visit shopbeam.com/Roseanne and use the code Roseanne at checkout. You've been hearing me rave about Dream, and this is your chance to try it for the lowest price of the year. So head over to shopbeam.com/Roseanne, enter the code Roseanne, and unlock your early access. That's shopbeam.com/Roseanne and use code Roseanne for up to 50% off.
They're not all still there, are they?
Actually, they're all gone. They got rid of a lot of good people from there. Not all. There's still good people there, but they got no balls.
Yeah. No, we saw.
Why did they get rid of you?
Because of really they got rid of me because I wasn't controllable. They loved me when they recognized that I was a real asset. Because number one, I would go to the ends of the earth. No matter what, I could get into places that were impossible for most people. And I wasn't afraid of the things that most people were afraid of. So I would go into Sadr City, which was formerly Saddam City under Saddam, which was run and controlled by the Iranian Shiite militias, who are incredibly violent and dangerous. And no one else wanted to, right? But I could do it, and I could do it and survive it. I had that ability, I think, because I had an angel on my shoulder and the hand of God on me, but also in a practical sense because I had the most profound relationships with the best people I could find. Like in Iraq, for us, Ibrahim al-Samurai and his brother Aus, who are still to this day like brothers to me. I found people who knew how to do this and who would never betray me. For us, he would rather have died than let somebody take me. So, when you work with people like that, you help to make some of your own luck. And this is a person whose great uncle, united the Sunni and Shia in Iraq every Friday at Friday prayers under Saddam Hussein. So he could move in the Shiite circles, he could move in the Sunni circles, I mean, he was from Samarra in the south. They shut the whole place down when his father died. Thousands and thousands of people at his funeral for days. So I just always found the best people, and I respected them. I listened to them. I argued with them when I needed to, right? I mean, that's what a robust, honest relationship is about. I learned from them. And I always knew that if Faraz said to me, Habibsi, we can't we can't go to this bombing. Because, you know, after a while, they banned even you being able, I lived in Baghdad for 5 years at the height of the violence. So sometimes they tried to ban you from even getting to cover the violence. So if we could make it in an underground way and get there, he would take me, we would go. And if we couldn't, he would say, not today. And I had to, even though I was, you know, like a racehorse chomping at the bit, just to open this frickin' stall and let me go. But I was never stupid or reckless, you know. I listened to the right people. I found the right people, and I made the best decisions I could make. And I never got anyone hurt, never got anyone killed. But what did they say about me? They said, oh, she's reckless, you know. When they decided, oh, so I was giving you a long answer to why they got rid of me. Essentially, it was because they recognized my strengths, but when they realized they couldn't control me, I was going to report the truth no matter what.
Yeah.
They had to find a way to get rid of me.
Right. That's what happened to me. Exactly.
And General Flynn.
Yeah.
They don't, and General Flynn. Yeah. They don't like anybody who might tell people to resist.
Or the truth.
Or the truth.
That's the big one.
Was
right?
that the fire in your belly to report the truth to the people? Was that what it was?
Always. But I will tell you this. My mother always said I was born with my bladder behind. She used to say, the problem with you, my girls, you're born with your bladder behind your bloody eyeballs.
What does that mean?
I would always cry. I had the softest heart. I couldn't bear human suffering. I couldn't bear injustice. And growing up under apartheid, I mean, I saw a lot of the greatness of humanity, and I saw some of the worst. I saw evil, and I saw injustice and suffering, and it broke me even as a little thing. I couldn't, you know, even at Christmas time.
Because you're from South Africa, right?
Yes, and I just that. You know, I couldn't watch someone in a boxing match. Whoever was getting beaten, I would be rooting for the underdog. That was just how I was born. And so, and then I was raised in a very robust house. My family was Irish, Sicilian, South African. And so I had a lot of brothers and sisters. If you didn't speak up in my house, you got crushed. My parents raised us to know who we were, know what we stood for, and speak up. My father always said, you know, because I would get a lot of backlash from that even as a kid. And he always said, the tallest wins. The tallest trees gather the most wind. You'll get over it. But my mother wanted me to toughen up because I really did always have this heart, soft heart. And it's interesting because I'm exactly the same today. Mm-hmm. But you learn how to be tough. I was standing in a Ebola treatment center in Liberia at the height of the worst Ebola epidemic in history. People dying everywhere. So dangerous. One of the hardest things I ever had to do, leave my little children, not knowing if I was ever coming back. Packing, you know, a day pack with clothes for every single day because you got to burn it at the end of the day. Leaving just with a shirt on your back and your passport, a small go bag that you kept sanitized, right? I mean, this was scary stuff, and my children were tiny. So when I was standing in this frontline treatment center, these places are like nothing you've ever experienced. They're the worst places imaginable.
Today's economic environment is still really stressful for a lot of us. But with the Fed finally dropping interest rates, there's no better time than now to put you and your family in a better financial position. If you're a homeowner, American Financing is helping thousands of families just like you who've been putting everyday expenses on the credit cards. They're going to help you get out from underneath that debt by tapping into their home's equity. American Financing is saving their borrowers over $800 a month on average. $800 a month is like a $10,000 raise from work, and it costs absolutely nothing to find out how much you can save. They're closing some in as little as 10 days, and if you start today, you might not have to make next month's mortgage payment. There's no better time than now to turn your situation around. Call and investigate today. Find out for yourself. Call today 866-890-8585. That's 866-890-8585. Or visit AmericanFinancing.net/Roseanne.
You've got a plastic fence that's kind of like that construction fencing. You're going through layers and layers. You're walking it through chlorine, and they've got the unconfirmed part that's sort of sanctioned off, and then next to that they have the confirmed ward, and the people who are waiting to know if they have Ebola or not. I mean, I'm standing there. We're filming. The doctors and the nurses are putting their PPE on. I mean, you put this on, you look like you're from outer space. They had to write their names on the front of their PPE kits because otherwise they didn't know they became unrecognizable to each other. So I want you to imagine being one of these people in a village in Africa. You know, you're a mother with your baby, and you're in the unconfirmed ward, and they come to you and say, "Give me your baby."
It's Auschwitz.
And not only that, this is a silent killer, right? I mean, nobody knows when I say it's not silent at the moment of death. It's terrible. The screams are terrible. But because you're bleeding out of every part of you. And one of the doctors who was actually from Stanford said to me, he said, you can't imagine it. He said, you know the one thing we run out of here all the time? Because I said, what do you need here? He said, I'll tell you the thing we need more than anything else. I said, what? He said, Valium. I said, why? And he said, because at the moment of death, it's just so unbelievably horrific. And all we can do is pump him full of Valium to make it bearable. But I was there at the unconfirmed ward when they came to tell this woman who was there with her baby that her husband, who was in the confirmed ward, had died. And her pain was just, I mean, her screams just like, you know, they say when you read novels, they write that, you know, the screams sort of rent the air. And that's what it was like. It was just literally like the air had to part way for this terrible grief. And I'm standing there, you know, looking at these children, and I have little children. I just couldn't stop crying. And I thought, you know what? They don't need a bleeding heart, okay? They need their voices to be heard all over the world. That's what you're here for. If you can't take the heat, get out of the goddamn kitchen. You know, pull it together. And I can do that. You know, I can bring myself back. So I have this capacity to feel with everything in me the way I always have, the way I was born. Because I kind of think it's a beautiful thing that God created me with that ability.
That's like such strength. I can't even fathom that you're like covering a political upheaval and, you know, you're gang raped, you know, as you're covering the story. And then you come back and keep being a journalist. I mean, that's some grace of God strength.
Oh, yeah.
I can't even believe that of anyone. But, you know, that's
But my daughter was 10 months old and my son was 1.
Oh, my God.
And God gave me a chance to live. So I didn't want to waste a second of that time. I mean, because when you're in that, you know, at a certain point.
Did you feel like you were Daniel in the lion's den, or what was the strength to get you through? Where did you go when it was happening to you? Did God take you up in his wings or what?
No. It's very interesting because on the one hand, everything is happening really fast, you know, but on the other hand, you're acutely aware of every little thing.
Yeah, you've got total recall.
Maybe we're living, like, you know, they say we only use a small part of our brains, right? Maybe in these extreme moments, you're using much more of your capacity to experience things.
Yeah, trauma does that.
Because you're in it, but you're also removed from it. Because now you're facing something, right? Because in the beginning, I'm fighting it. You know, I mean, we were there covering the end of Hosni Mubarak, and it was kind of like a big Super Bowl party all over Cairo, which is, I mean, just millions of people, and they're all celebrating. And you know, I mean, how many decades did Mubarak have a stranglehold on power, and all of his minions and acolytes and power brokers and puppets and puppet masters, you know, and all of them, right? So you're breaking apart something that has been, I mean, it's carved in blood.
Yeah,
and
it is
stone,
carved in blood.
And stone. So when you tear that apart, that is you know, that's an extraordinary moment in history. And I wanted to witness that because I'd been in prison in Egypt the week before. And that wasn't a whole lot of fun. But I had talked my boss and my husband into the idea that I was going back. In fact, you'll like this. I waited till we were in the shower. And I was naked. Just float the idea to him, sweetheart. Mubarak hasn't stepped down yet, but he's going to. It's going to happen soon. And what a moment. And it's going to alter the Middle East. It's going to alter this. It's going to alter that. Like, this is the moment that comes, doesn't come along often in a lifetime. Obviously, I have to be there. And of course, he said, obviously, you have to be there. And so that was it. Decision made, right?
That's like network times 10.
But completely legal.
Yeah, but it's amazing.
So when we went back, and he had just stepped down about 10 minutes after we landed, and we went to that square, and I was interviewing people and talking to people. They were all saying this is Facebook's revolution, Google's revolution.
Yeah. Little
did we know that meant Satan's revolution.
Yeah.
Well,
it was
in those
Obama.
days. Yeah. Well, like I said, Satan's revolution. and so when my cameraman's light went down, the battery went down on his camera, and he went down on the ground to change it, and that's when they started. These are trained provocateurs in the crowd.
Right.
They know how to turn a crowd into a mob.
They're not. That's what I was going to ask you. Were they just regular people, or were they ops? Both. You only need a few operators to turn the regular people into savages, right? Yeah,
because
true.
They study this. They know how to do it. We probably taught them. I mean, some things people know instinctively all over the world.
Right.
But in terms of using it operationally to affect a situation, like if you're the regime and you're losing control over everything, you really don't want the world's cameras putting a big light on you. You want to clean up, you want to do your own mop-up operations, consolidation of power, take over the new people who think they're coming in to rule, and you don't really have any intention of letting them do that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
There's a lot of stuff shifting in those moments. So they were, I was a good target, because that resonated all over the world. And there were a lot of journalists that didn't stay, and a lot that didn't go as a result. So, I don't know exactly what happened, but I know this. God told me not to waste a single second of my life on who they were, and I never did. I didn't give a shit. I really didn't care. I mean, when that happened to me, I thought at first that they were trying to help me, because this young Egyptian man who was translating for us, wonderful young man, he turned to me and he was ghostly. I mean, wasn't just pale, he was gray, and he was pure terror on his face. And he said, "We've got to run. We've got to go. We've got to go." So I started to run, and we got too far ahead of the team. And I thought all these guys in the crowd who surrounded me were trying to help me get away.
Oh, no.
But they were telling me, slow down. But no, they were not, because I started to feel someone's hand between my leg, and you're pushing it away, and it's chaos, and you think, what the hell, seriously? And then it's again and again, and then it's, oh wait, and you're surrounded. And we had one security person with us, is Ray Jackson, and we just did that so that CBS wouldn't say we were irresponsible after being in prison the week before. And he was really an amazing man. I mean, he told me to grab his shirt. So I did with my right hand. He had a button down, I remember. And he said, "Don't let go, Lara. Don't let go." And he was the only one with me at that point. And we got dragged by the mob. And he just kept talking to me the whole time. He kept saying, "Lara, stay on your feet. If you don't get up, you're going to die. Get up. You're going to die." And then he was like, "Okay, they're stealing our wallets. They're beating us. They're beating us with flagpoles. And of course they were raping me with flagpoles, like everything they could." And it was, you're in a mob situation like that. Everybody wants a piece of you. So they're trying to tear your scalp. It's not pull your hair out. I mean, they're digging their fingernails into your scalp. I had fingernails and finger marks in my breast in blood that were there, for months, where they tried to tear my breasts off my body. And, they're ripping your clothes off. I never forget that feeling. I remember when my bra went, I could hear it because they broke that. And I could feel the air the night air on my skin. Because when they take your jacket, your shirt, everything, so they're tearing everything off me. And at first, I couldn't believe it because I had lived in Iraq for 5 years. I'd lived in Afghanistan. I lived alone with Afghan soldiers for months during the war with the Taliban, with no Americans, no foreign forces, just me and Afghans. At the time when the Taliban had 90% of the country, they started to lose that territory, but they were murdering women in the stadium. They were executing them if they showed a piece of hair, right? Or if the sliver of their skin peeped out from under their burqa. So I had been, there's two rules, one for local women and one for foreign women, but I had lived in Islamic culture and with Islamic men for years. So I was shocked at this, the way I was being treated. And in the beginning, I was fighting the sexual part of it. I was still fighting to try to stop them. And then I realized, wow, when they tore Ray off me and I lost him permanently, I just felt all that adrenaline just gone. And I thought, I really am going to die. This is it. It's funny because, I grew up believing I was a Charlie's Angel and I was going to save the world. And in that moment, I was like, wow, this is how it ends in this filthy street, these filthy men, in this filthy, worthless death, miserable death, without dignity, without grace. Just filthy is the only word I can really use to describe what it's like to be touched by that. And in the dirt there. So when I felt that strength leave my body, and I thought, okay, so you're dying. And I was struggling to breathe at that point. I was in obviously a lot of pain, but also the pressure on my chest and from all these men. And I would go down and they would drag me up, and, somebody else grab another part of your body. And a lot of my joints were distended and everything else from the mob. But I just, the moment, it was like this. I even could see it. It was like all that strength left my body. I looked at my death. I knew there was nothing I could do anymore. And then the guilt just rushed in.
Guilt?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I thought about my children. Mm-hmm. And I thought, boy, they deserve better. They deserve a mom. They got to know that I died fighting. They got to know that I fought to the last breath, that I never quit. How could you quit? How could you do that to them? So then I started to fight, not the sexual assault, but fight for my life, but not believing I could live. If that makes sense.
You were just fighting.
I was just fighting.
You weren't going to go out on your knees.
Oh, I bit someone's face.
Oh, good
I was
for you.
Scratching. I wanted to know there was DNA under my fingernails.
Oh, yeah.
I was like a little animal. I was like a little animal. But I was also very close to death because I couldn't breathe. There's no air when you have a mob like that. There's no oxygen, strangely enough, because there's so many and they're so close.
Yeah, it's like a mob of vampires.
And people are screaming, and I could see flashes when I was down. Whenever I would go down, I would look up and I would see people with their cameras and
good Lord,
taking pictures and filming.
Did you feel like it was just the devil on you? Did that come in?
I didn't have time to think of that. But the last time I went down, when I couldn't stand anymore, there were too many of them and they were on my legs, and I was dragged. And that was the ironic part, because Tahrir Square is not a square like this. It's a square with roads and gutters and fences and roads going off the square and whatever. And the Egyptian protesters had been living in that square for some time at that point. So there was an area where there were a lot of women and children, and their young men. When I kind of, this little wild naked animal kind of was dragged into their laps, because the mob is not in control completely, right? They're fighting each other. Mm-hmm. and I ended up in the lap of this Egyptian woman, older woman. Now they're all in black, all the women, right? They've got full abayas on. It's just the eyes or maybe a little bit of the face. So, but the young men jumped up to protect their own. It had the benefit.
The ones that were
the young men that were
assaulting you?
No, that were on the ground with their mothers and their little sisters and whatever.
Okay.
In that part of the square, they jumped up and formed a kind of barrier with the mob, and that was the moment that I knew I could. That was the first time I had hope. But that was when the fear just came, because up till that point, I never felt fear. It was only that moment when. They were pouring water on me and they were throwing pieces of clothing at me because a naked woman in public in the Middle East in an Islamic place, but, and they didn't want to, and people were taking pictures then too. But then, I thought that when I lost Ray, I was going to die. But later I realized that when Ray was torn off me, he went and got the army and he forced the Egyptian military to come and find me. So they came with batons and they were beating people through the mob, and they were pouring water down my throat, because I was in a bad way. But then the soldiers, the mob parted. But I knew all it would take was for them to reach out and they could grab. They weren't even as far as you to me away, right? With these young men in between, like they could reach right through and grab me, and that nobody would have stopped them. So that was when I was the most afraid. And then when the army came, they didn't want to touch me because I was naked. So they receded back into the mob. And that was a terrible moment for me.
Yeah.
It was a terrible moment for me because I just started to breathe again. And I had enough time to be terrified. I couldn't face going back. I couldn't do it. So, but they came back, and they had an abaya, or one of the full black robes, and they put that over me, and then they picked me up and carried me. And when we got to the edge of the square, actually our Egyptian driver, who had been in prison with us the week before, and he was the one they really beat the living daylights out of. I was unconscious at one point, and they stabbed me with a needle and a drip, and it wasn't pleasant for any of us. But I could hear him. I could hear him screaming as they beat him. And when he came to meet us at the airport, he said, "It's my honor. I want to work with you again." And I said, "Are you nuts? They almost killed you a week ago. They're going to kill you again." And he's like, "No, you don't understand. We're fighting for our freedom here. I want to fight."
God,
so he was the one who reached out his arms and took me, and he took me up a little road off the square, and that's where my team were. And I realized, I just kept saying to Max, my producer, "You can't imagine what they did to me." And that's what happens when if I was bleeding, if I had a gunshot wound, everybody knows you've been shot and they know I need to do this. But when you've been covered up in a big black robe and no one can see your wounds, and nobody, what are you going to do? Pull up the robe and say, "You're not." You can't. So nobody understands. Is that?
Yeah, it's the shame of the rape victim, which they can't get over that one. God, your bravery. I'm astounded at your bravery and your ability to move past horror. And I just can imagine what your core is like. I know that your core is very founded in your creator. And, that's the only thing that can get you through stuff like that, isn't it?
Love. Love gets you through everything. Even before I really fully understood, I always believed in God. But even before that, that foundation that you get in God's principles that are all around us, we don't even know. As much as humanity has moved away from God, we're still living his word all the
Right.
time.
Absolutely.
So even unconsciously, you
Mhm.
know, and so that was really founded in the love that I had all my life growing up, the wisdom of my parents, especially my mom, who she had a saying for every moment, you know. She really did. It endures, and those things get passed through the generations, you know.
Do you think that growing up in Africa made you who you are too?
Oh, definitely, that's a huge part of it. There's a joy in Africa, in spite of the suffering and the poverty and the everything else. I think it's because Africa is so like profoundly blessed in every respect.
Yeah.
You know, amongst the most natural beauty is just extraordinary. You think about a place like Cape Town. If you've never been there, you can stand on the tip of Africa, you know, where the two oceans meet, and it's just incredible. If you're ever in the African bush, to be there lying quietly. I mean, I used to go in when I was 14 with another guy who was a ranger, and we would just go, the two of us, and you'd take turns all night, do 2-hour shifts off night watch. And if we were by the river, you'd have to watch the river for the crocodiles and the hippos, and you watch the land for the lions and all the other animals that can kill you, you know. And I would spend like a week out there. I wouldn't see another human being, just the animals in the
Wow.
bush under the stars. And sometimes it would rain, you know, and you'd be soaked to the core. We'd dig for water, and your water would be black, but if you were deep enough, you knew it wasn't going to kill you, you know. And so when you live like that, I mean, gosh, Africa is truly blessed. And then you look at, you know, what is beneath the earth with all the minerals and everything else. It's almost like God blessed Africa with so much favor that everyone else has spent all the time since robbing it.
Yeah, that's the truth.
And human nature has not. I mean, you can't excuse people, right? People are responsible for themselves. So those who took the money or became corrupt or whatever, they don't get a free pass. But isn't it just extraordinary that you have, like, the former Democratic Republic of Congo, 80% of the population lives on less than $1 a day, but just about every important ingredient that is needed for cell phones and computers is naturally found in the earth there.
Yeah.
I mean, they've robbed Africa blind.
There is a new, well, I shouldn't say new crime. It's been going on for a long time, but it's new to me because I had no freaking idea. Even when I was in real estate and lending and all that stuff. Do you know people are stealing the equity out of your house? It's through it's like title fraud. They can basically say they own your house, refinance, and steal your money. I never even heard of this.
They've been doing it for a long time, and it increased after Obama got in. It became,
Of course,
you know, all the things he did.
Well, this fraud is called house stealing, and it's very terrifying. And there's a company that we just signed on with called Home Title Log. It's a great company. What they do is they monitor your house, because a lot of this stuff, this home stealing, happens without anybody knowing. You don't know until it's too late. You pay for this service. They monitor your house. They check titles. They check any paperwork going to the state. They stay on top of it. It's almost like antivirus software on your computer, but for your house. It's an amazing product. I've been talking to them for a lot. They've saved thousands of people their homes. And better yet, when you pay for the service, not only do they monitor it, but if you are scammed and your house is stolen by a bad actor or someone committing fraud, they will actually help with their legal team to get your house back. And they've done that thousands of times. They're an amazing company, and we're very, very happy to be signed on with them. Because like I said, I didn't even know this was a crime until recently.
You can protect yourself from this despicable crime right now with triple lock protection from Home Title Lock. The first step is to check on your home's title and make sure you're not already a victim. You can get a free 30-day trial and a free title history report when you use the promo code RB30 at HomeTitleLock.com, or use the link in the description below. That's HomeTitleLock.com. Promo code RB30 for 30 days of protection and a title report for free. You've got to do it.
Yeah, they do.
And it's not just the colonialists. Don't fall for that. It's everybody.
Yeah.
The Arabs did. The colonialists, the Western powers
Well, Arabs are
did. The Chinese are
colonialists.
doing it. But yes, and they are. But I'm saying in the traditional sense, when you talk about colonizers. Everybody thinks Britain, Spain, the Portuguese, and so on.
They like you to think that while
Yeah.
they're grabbing it with both fists.
Yeah, but I've been in Darfur. I've been in Sudan. I've been in the villages where the Arab Janjaweed has gone in and massacred everybody. You know, I mean, I was in refugee camps in Darfur and in those places. I mean, when you see the legacy of the Arabs in Africa, it's breathtaking.
Well, they still sell black people as slaves. They do it in Libya. They do it in Gaza. They call black people the name for slaves. And everybody's like, you know, so brainwashed by it. Particularly, you know, I mean.
As if there were never any white slaves.
Is Israel in Africa?
You know?
Did Israel ever raid Africa? I'm asking.
Israel has given so much to Africa. I mean, and there was finally one African guy that stood up and said it at the UN. I was so proud of him. But, you know, everybody's good and bad. I'm not saying everybody's all good or all bad.
Everybody's good and bad. That's true. And, you know, right now, today, in the United States of America, they're selling girls in slave markets.
No, I know.
In places like Fort Worth, Texas.
I know.
Just a few hours from us. Right?
Right. More slaves in America now than ever, and their children.
Yes. Well, this is the largest form of slavery that we've seen. I mean, between the debt slavery, labor slavery, and sex slavery, this is the largest form of slavery the world has ever witnessed. And the U.S. is at the epicenter of it.
Yeah. While everybody talks about all their fake anti-slavery crap.
It's all crap, yeah.
It is all crap, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, look, you've got more kids dying on the southern border today than in living history, probably ever, because we've never had this level of illegal immigration. And yet all those people who went nuts about kids in cages.
Isn't illegal immigration just another word for child trafficking?
In many respects, yes, except I would say that illegal immigration has another dimension to it. These people view human beings as weapon systems.
Yeah, they do.
And they're dismantling the world as we've known it.
Right.
So, and remember, there's a clear, articulated policy for this.
What is it?
It's the United Nations 2018 Global Compact on Migration.
Yes,
what's that say? I don't know about it.
It is... I mean, I just urge people to look it up, because what it basically does is it makes immigration a human right. So your God-given rights, like sovereignty, right? The sovereignty of nations, the sovereignty of the individual, these things are obliterated by the human rights that they assign. The reason that the Biden administration got rid of the word illegal, notice everybody talks about migrants now, right? Even our government ordered Border Patrol and Customs and Border Protection, all these people, you're not allowed to say illegal anymore. But why not? It's still illegal under U.S. law. You didn't go through the legislature to change the laws. So why are we getting rid of the word? Well, because it's not consistent with the policy of the globalists,
UN.
which is that we are now going to see regular and irregular flows of orderly migration, because people are just exercising their human right. So what they're saying to you is, we as men deem rights on people that are higher than the rights of God. And now we're implementing this policy. So there are people from the UN have been present on US soil overseeing our immigration policy. Excuse my French, but what the fuck's it got to do with the UN?
Shit. Did you love that Netanyahu said it's time for all the UN peacekeeping troops to get the fuck out of Lebanon so the Lebanese people can have their sovereignty? He just said that. I did
actually like that. I did, because the Lebanese people are not well served by the United Nations.
Nobody is.
Nobody is.
They're vampires. Those guys are Satanists. They're Babylon. That's Babylon.
They're terrible people. They're terrible people. Did you see what happened not so long ago at the UN Summit for the Future, where they vested extraordinary power in the Secretary General of the United Nations? So in the event of any global emergency,
oh yes,
you know, they're now the UN Secretary General is in charge of everyone. Are you nuts? What planet do you live on?
That was for a pandemic response, right? That's
No. That's for the World Health Organization.
Oh, what's this?
What they did is they took what they did for WHO and pandemics, and they broadened that to anything from a supply chain disruption to climate change to whatever. And they did it. And they vested power in the UN Secretary General. because, of course, there has to be one solution for everything. We're all global citizens of this global world. I mean, it's just absolute nonsense. Anytime you see that you have to have a global solution, it's a lie. I mean, even with
their global solution, part of the great cornerstone of it, in my opinion, I'd like to hear what you think of it. I just read yesterday that they no longer say something about cervix.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like they don't say breastfeeding.
Now it's the
they
front
say
hole.
Yeah, and they say chest feeding now, not breastfeeding, and all this other crap. Now you're not a mother.
It's to take away the sovereignty of women.
It is. It is 100%.
So sexist, rapist.
Oh,
it's a friggin' pedophile, rapist world. And their laws of the UN are pedophile and rapist.
Who's the Secretary General of the UN?
Antonio Guterres.
Where's he from?
Hell.
I mean, what country? Or is this not a good actor? I think.
Oh, no. He is absolutely not a good actor at all. Just like Tedros, the head of the WHO. The problem with all of these people is that, well, apart from the fact that they're never been elected and the people have never been asked to vote and their agenda is masked in deception.
But aren't they like, I think how they pick these people that aren't chosen by anybody but the elite vampires, the vampire billionaire class.
Yeah.
If they got like Diddy here, they got the more blackmail they got on a guy, the higher 100%. He's going to go.
Yes. No question about it.
The dirtier the son of a bitch is, the higher he's going to rise.
Yes.
That's the mafia, right?
It's worse than the mafia.
It is worse than the mafia.
It's worse than the mafia. The mafia, it's simple. It's about power. It's about money. It's about all those things.
But they have rules. They don't go for women and children and stuff like that.
They have rules.
Yeah. I don't think they eat people's hearts and stuff like
the cartels do.
I know they do. And America won't hear it.
No, and also, but think about this. You talked about the sovereignty of women. Right now, today, American women, in prison in places like California are being raped every day by men pretending to be trans, pretending to be women. And like I said,
pretending to be trans is exactly right.
Yes.
They're not trans.
No, they're not. They have an easier life in the women's prisons, and then these women are completely defenseless. I said this to my kids the other day. I said, you realize that the punishment for theft or drugs or whatever, dealing in illegal, is not to be raped every day. Right? That's not what the punishment says.
Right.
So why are we allowing this to happen? You want to talk to me about your, about this with trans issues or, whatever. It's like, do you realize what's being done? I mean, all of these agendas are hijacked. They may, on the surface appear to be sincere about something, whether it's, BLM about race or it's, we don't want trans kids to, we want them to feel.
They're tricksters.
They're the most evil form of deception. The most evil form of deception.
Yeah, because they're taking advantage of real victims.
They're taking advantage of their own.
You're castrating boys.
I know.
You're castrating boys.
Cutting girls' boobs off.
And sterilizing them.
That's what they want. Because that's what the Nazis always wanted, was to learn how to, sterilize people. That's how the Nazis got hold.
It wasn't
sterilizing mentally, deficient people.
But look at the Nazis. Okay, look at what they did. I mean, they got rid of all disabled people.
Anybody, I know, that's what they did
Germans,
first. First, they sterilized them.
Yes, and they also called all the Germans back from the diaspora. And they tested the purity of your German blood, even if you weren't Jewish, What about the gypsies, right? What about all the black people? They didn't want any of those people, but what they did want, what they were quite fine with, was the Islamic people.
Oh, they loved them. I went to Glenn Beck's museum, and he has the Islamic Nazi uniform.
Are you aware of what Glenn Beck has? Do you know what he's in possession of?
Well, I've seen some of it because I've been in his studio with him, but I haven't seen it all. Again, I had not seen that uniform.
Profound.
It's the Muslim hat.
It's a giant machete arm. Like a hack.
The Islamic sword inside the swastika. Hitler loved them.
Well, look at the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, right? He was given honorary Nazi status.
They founded the Muslim Brotherhood.
Well, and they went through the Arab world and they made their deals.
That was the whole uprising against Mubarak in Egypt.
And what else did they found?
The whole Iranian thing.
And the CIA?
Yeah.
Did they?
Yes, the head of Nazi intelligence
But
was
not
brought here under Operation
with
Paperclip.
Muslims, or this
Mhm.
is something different?
No,
Operation
no.
Paperclip.
Yeah, no,
This
I know
is-
about that. I
this
thought you were
is-
talking about.
what I'm saying is that the tentacles, I mean, they go into the Islamic world, into the Latin American world, right? Because they made those deals throughout Latin America to bring the Nazis before the end of the war. That was
Right.
decided on at the beginning of the war. And when you look at what they said at the Nuremberg trials, they all said it's not over. And what did they
No,
do?
it's not
They
over.
talked about the 1,000-year Reich.
Mhm.
Why was it 1,000 years? Why did they pick that? Well, because if you look, what does the Bible say? The first covenant with man was made in the beginning for 2,000 years. The second covenant was made with Abraham for 2,000 years. And then the third covenant was made with Jesus. And what was promised in the end times is that Christ would return to earth and reign for what? 1,000 years.
Huh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And what do
Wow.
they do with technology now? Where they put a clock in your phone, so you set your alarm, right? You never turn it off. You keep it with you all the time. So this is Satan's attempt at mimicking the omnipotence of God, to be all-knowing and all-seeing. Because now they're everywhere. Voice recognition, face recognition. I mean, you take your phone to the bathroom, it's in your bedroom, it's in your bed. Your TV's spying on you, your dishwasher's spying on you, your car is spying on you, right? That technology is their attempt because these people create nothing. They infiltrate, they steal and undermine
Vampire.
and mimic. That's all
They
that's
do
all that they
just
can do.
mimic.
Yes, they're not creators
No.
because they're not of the creator.
Well, they don't
pledged
have souls.
No, they gave their souls to the devil.
Yeah.
They really did.
I know.
I mean,
they
the kind
do.
of things that I've seen,
People won't believe. Do you think that there's going to be real disclosure? So, I mean, obviously, a lot of us know what they do, right?
I believe that we cannot continue as we have with these things happening all around us and people either choosing not to know, blissfully unaware, whatever it happens to be. The moment that you decide as a nation that the idea that children are raped and tortured and murdered all around you for money, and not just for money, but to satisfy the most carnal, evil desires of the worst people on earth. The moment you say, well, that's a fact of life, is when, you realize you can't keep going like that. It has to break. What did Chinua Achebe, the Nigerian writer, say? Things fall apart. The center cannot hold.
Yeah,
You can't keep going like this. I mean,
No.
we've been trapped in this system of debt slavery, right, since 1913. It's only 2024. I mean, I know it feels like forever, like it'll never change, but it could change.
I know. People don't seem to want to, even though they say they believe all this stuff about redemption, repentance, getting closer to God. Everybody says that, but then they think nothing can ever change at the same time. They say that.
I think, a lot of people have benefited from the system.
Oh, yeah.
People benefit in one way or another. People like security. I mean, look at animals, right? What do? We're animals. We gravitate towards each other. The pack is security. So in part, it's built into us to not want to be outliers. You don't want to stick your head up because it's going to get shut off.
Right.
Well, that's our DNA. We're built to survive.
Right.
We're programmed for survival. So we gravitate towards each other. We find safety in numbers and so on and so on. And a lot of those people see that things are wrong. They know that it's wrong. But when you ask them to raise their hand or their head and help you, they don't want to do that.
Yeah, that's true.
They're scared or they're they're comfortable.
Don't you feel sorry for people like that? I mean, I used to be mad at them, but now I kind of just feel sorry for them because to not stand your ground in a war of the soul against death, it's just kind of like, okay, well, you had no meaning to your life.
Is it bad to say I don't care?
That's kind of what I'm saying too. I don't care.
I don't care about him. I don't care about him. If I'm sorry that if that's how it is for you, I understand. I don't judge you because, well, it really isn't for us to judge. And quite honestly, when you stop judging people, it's quite liberating.
It is.
You know what I mean? It's like I've reached that point in my life, Roseanne, where I behold my field of fucks.
Yeah.
For it is barren. I got none. I got zero fucks. Are you kidding me? We're in a death fight for our lives.
That's exactly right.
I have children. I have young children, and I am not going to tell my children that they've got to lie about who they are, and they've got to lie their way through school just to graduate. They've got to lie their way through college, and then they've got to become something else. I'm not going to do it. I really struggle. I'm not going to participate in your mass delusion. Are you nuts? We're no more able to change our gender than we are to turn into an animal or a fairy. You know what I mean? So go fuck yourself.
Yeah, no shit.
Seriously. And if you're
exactly
so worried
at
this, you're worried at this point. You're worried at this point about what? I mean, I get it. You're a billionaire. You don't want to do it. You want to stay a billionaire. You're a millionaire. You want to stay a millionaire. And you think, well, if I start to do this or if I do that. But I don't know what that is. It's an alien language to me. And it is so hard to be in this fight every single day. I've been in this fight for more than a decade since I was first targeted. And I am tired. And I would like to enjoy my children before they're gone, but I can't because I don't even know what it would be like if we don't get the chance to turn this around.
What were you going to tell us about the whole Chinese plan that we don't know about? This is the real hidden stuff. I want to hear about this because it's just so horrifying how stupid and lulled into passivity Americans have become.
So I want to tell you what, because I just go instinctively, right? And God puts the words in my heart.
Me too.
And I'm just going to tell you first is all those people out there who are afraid of accountability, they should be.
They should be, yes, absolutely.
They really should be. I think that awful excuse for a human being, General Milley, I don't even know.
I call it the military.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All those guys, all those people who have sacrificed our national security and our safety and
the safety of our children
and tortured
for personal gain.
Yeah, and tortured people because they wouldn't comply, wouldn't take the vaccine, or weren't going to go along with the delusion of us all pretending that someone wearing high heels to work in their uniform isn't fucking deranged and in need of mental health.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, no, I'm not playing your game.
Because they're Jewish.
And by the way, I've been in combat how many times? I've been in combat over and over and over again, and nobody gave a shit what your politics were. The only thing anybody cares about is, are we going to make it? Are we going to make it through this? And, what they have done, I cannot tell you the individual stories of so many soldiers who have had their lives and careers destroyed.
Oh, I know it.
Destroyed. And everything that goes along with that because of people like that worthless piece of shit.
After
Milley.
Sacrificing everything.
Yes. And so I would just say to you, all of those, because this is on my mind because Millie's talking about tribunals and you asked me about what's going to happen. All right. We're in the point where you can see the fear. Mm-hmm. Remember the British? Remember that old saying, don't shoot until you see the whites of their eyes? Yeah. I can see the whites of their eyes.
Oh,
can you?
Well, I can see the red of them.
Yeah. Behind the white is that red glow from the underworld.
Well, they're all bloodshot,
Yes.
From all the alcohol and drugs and misery.
But are you talking about us or the...
No, them. But Roseanne, did you see Obama's face the other day?
Yeah.
Which time? I see him all the time.
When he's begging black people to vote.
Oh, he's trying to shame
for the laughing hyena.
No, he's terrified.
I'm really getting myself into trouble now.
No, he's terrified.
He's terrified.
Yeah, I saw it.
Did you see that? How skinny he is, how unhealthy he looks, and
he's
how
usually cool as
panicked.
a cucumber.
He was not cool. He was not cool. And so when you ask me,
I think it's been coming for him for a long time.
Oh, and not soon enough.
Not soon enough.
No. So what I see is, this is what I want people to understand, is there's multiple lines of operation. Okay, this is an undeclared war. We are without a doubt in full-fledged war.
Full-fledged. Amen.
So just because it's undeclared doesn't mean it's not happening. In every war, there's at least two sides.
That's right.
Right? So both sides are in play here. I'm not talking to the good guys about what they're up to, because this is a covert war.
Absolutely.
So, number one,
it's subterranean.
Yes. Some of it is subterranean. Absolutely true.
Call it a cold civil war.
Yeah, well, and I don't know how cold it is all the time.
It ain't cold.
I don't know how cold it is all the time. But it definitely has kinetic battlefields, like, you know,
worldwide,
like in Israel and Lebanon and Gaza and all the rest of it, and Ukraine. But so what I'm telling you, what I can tell you about the things that I've been working on is trying to understand what the enemies of the United States have planned, both foreign and domestic.
Right. I'd love to hear that, but they hate us because we have civil rights for human beings and women, right?
No, I mean, when you say they, who do you mean by they?
Well, you know, the one world, new world order of
they hate us because we chose God.
Okay.
That's why they hate us, because this is what someone who worked in this underground and intelligence in this world and actually infiltrated that world, the global cult. He said to me once, he said, you need to understand how they look at it. Like and he spent 2.5 years underground reading their books and their manuscripts and, you know, and all the rest of it. He's an absolute plethora of information. But what he said to me is, what we fail to realize is they look at everything through the lens of this war against God.
Oh, I know that.
Every single thing.
Absolutely.
So for them, it's about what can they do to inflict damage and pain on God? What can they do, you know, to hurt him?
They want to humiliate him.
Right. And what makes him humiliated and hurt is when you use your free will to choose evil and to choose darkness over the light and the truth and him, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not so much that they hate us because we have civil rights, it's that civil rights are a product of God.
Well, yeah, like intelligence, fact, data, justice, mercy, the good things.
Equality.
Yeah.
That's
right?
all from God.
God-given rights, freedom of speech, freedom,
liberty,
freedom itself.
Freedom
itself. God gives us the freedom to choose, to make up our own minds, to make our own decisions. He doesn't even intervene when it hurts him the most. Because if you think it hurts us to see children suffer, our suffering is infinitesimal part of his greatest suffering. So for these people, it's not, you know, you can find people who hate the way we live, but is that really at its core what it's about? No, it's really at its core, it's about those who chose to walk in the light versus those who chose darkness.
Absolutely.
You know,
hello.
Do you still have your soul, or did you sell it?
Yeah.
So those people, America's enemies, both foreign and domestic, it's very clear what they don't want. So I'll separate the things that I know. They don't want an election.
That's for sure.
They don't want it. They don't even want to take the chance that Trump and people like General Flynn and others get back in power.
They don't want to take the chance that the American people choose their own leaders.
100%. It's not about Trump. I mean, it is, because he's the guy that's willing to step in and do what needs to be done. But this has always been about the will of the people.
I'm excited to show you an app called Kalshi with a K. It's the first legal exchange where you can trade or bet on any event. They just got approval to list markets to trade on the outcome of the election, making the first legal place to trade on an election in 100 years. Kalshi has markets on who will win the presidential election, who will control the House and the Senate, who will win the swing states, and more. Right now, Trump and Kamala are trading about 50-50. How could that be? Meaning if you place a bet on either, you'll double your money if they end up winning. Kalshi has already facilitated over $1 billion in trades. The election markets are now live to trade. You can sign up using my link, callshe.com/bar, and the first 500 traders who would deposit $50 will get a $20 credit. That's pretty mind-blowing to think about. You know, a lot of people could get really rich.
And I think they know this company like sought us out. They know our audience is on top of shit and wants, talking about this stuff all the time. Why not put some money in? And if you get free $20, you can make a $20 bet.
Oh, well, maybe we should all put 50 on Trump.
I think that's a good idea.
Oh, let's all do it. I mean, what, we get back 100 if we win?
Yeah, you'll get 100. Well, that's the odds right now. I mean, after Kamala's town hall last night, I think it's probably.
Oh, it was hilarious. She
so bad.
She lost the debate to herself.
That's a good line.
Because when they repeat it over and over again in all their campaigns and whatever, this is a government of the people, for the people, and by the people, they didn't mean it. How do we know? Because when the people chose Donald Trump, they said, no.
You guys are a bunch of racists.
Yeah.
And idiots. And no. You're not actually supposed to choose. You're supposed to, we choose for you because we're better than you. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the captured elite. And I say captured because they're either captured by money or corruption or whatever else. Yep. But they think they know better than us. So, the great unwashed, right? The masses, how condescending and patronizing and arrogant they are about people. And I would hear that all the time in the media. The audience is stupid. And my old boss at 60 Minutes used to say, don't underestimate the audience. And he was the only one I ever heard talk like that. Everybody else universally thought they were so much smarter and better.
That's who I worked with too. And I was the one saying, don't insult my audience with that shit. They're very smart just because, they're working class. Right. You don't look down on the people that do all the work that keeps your ass in business.
But by the way, we'll take your tax money and you can pay for our college.
Exactly.
I mean,
they're thieves.
Yes.
A con man's got to be believable for the con to work.
That's right. And boy, did they make it believable. But if you go back to the beginning, like, for example, even when God created the church on the rock, which was the Catholic Church, he didn't create what the Catholic Church became. What he created was that first church. And the Satanists stole it from God and turned it and took it away. So, I speak to people who...
Well, because they only care about power. They don't care about God or the soul or any good stuff on earth.
But there's something they care about more than power. And
butt?
Well, yeah.
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 Really?
Really?
Because that's how any damage and pain they inflict on God and God's creation, they rise in their world and they become rewarded, right? And they become more and more and more powerful. And
because they could destroy children.
Yes. And so they feed on that. They feed on the blood of children.
Yes, they do.
And their fear and their terror and their pain and their suffering.
Yes, they do.
They really do. Just look at the dark web. Don't tell me this isn't real.
They get energy from their sadists.
They get energy from it, and they get validation.
And they get money.
And they rise. I mean, they get untold amounts of money. Untold amounts of money. The reward for them is endless. And look at them. Look on the dark web. You can literally find people who will... a guy can walk past you and do a 3D scan of your body. He can put your image now, that on the internet. He can NFT it. The cartel or whoever, they can put an NFT, a non-fungible token on it, which is pretty much like a patent. They now own your image because we own nothing in the digital world. And we have no digital bill of rights. We have nothing. And then they put that on the dark web and people pay to rape your child. They do this to your child. They rape your child over and over and over again with 3D headsets on. I mean, that's just a mild example of what they do. They have people who log in from all over the world, set pedophiles and Satanists and whatever, and participate in group torture of children and babies. They have a way. There's something called a blood show that they like. There's a way to cut children and babies' veins in such a way that when you rape them to death, you get the maximum amount of a blood show. I mean, they've got people who like to take puppies or kittens, put them in a bag, and then they get a girl with stilettos to stomp them to death, and they get off with the screams of these tiny, beautiful little creatures as they're murdered in the most horrific way and suffer. I mean, these are actual
but that's
verifiable
only the
things.
stuff they can show.
And that's the stuff that I am able to confirm. Right? That's the stuff that I'm able to confirm. I think it was Michigan, where they arrested a guy who had all these TV screens, and he would pay, to rape to have dozens and dozens of kids raped all at the same time. And he would have them each one up live on these screens. I mean, that guy was prosecuted and put in prison 10, 15 years ago. That's not even new. That's not even new. So what we did with technology, we created a home for all of these people. So you've got the global government. This is where they take unprecedented power. You've got all these disaffected loyalty groups of lunatics and mental patients, like your transgender community, half of them, who are used as your enforcers because you validate their existence, which is an illusion. So they cling to you because you're now validating that illusion or delusion as it is. And so you'll do anything for them, right? Plus you give them access. You give them the get out of jail free card, which is that hedonism is how we should live. That whatever you want. What do you think all these robots are about? There's sex robots. I reported on sex robots probably 10 years ago now. There's brothels where you can go to in Japan, in Switzerland, in I think it's the UK, and I think they have some in Las Vegas and somewhere else in the US, where you can go and have sex with a robot. And when they advertise these robots, Roseanne, they advertise them as partners for life. You'll never be lonely again and blah, blah, blah. Even, the Elon Musk robots that he unveiled, this could be your friend. This is this whole idea that this robot. Well, what happens when you're in a sexual relationship with a robot? You don't have to have a conscience, do you? Do you? You can do whatever you want to the robot.
Well, people are being trained to become just ghouls.
Give in to your most carnal, evil desires.
Well, I always thought that the Marxist word, that was a fake word for sexual libertines. That's really what they are. No boundaries. It's just male sexual libertines. They want to have harems and to do whatever they want.
These people who are, you see how they've gone, introducing sex education into the schools, and now we've got books that teach young boys how to pleasure older men. In our schools.
I know.
So this wasn't just sexual libertine, right? This is like sexual violence. That's what the whole thing of the Marquis de Sade is about, violence and S&M. Yes. Libertine always ends up in violence. Yes.
Because it's a power trip.
It's awful.
I know.
See, I don't have any desire for power. I'm not built that way. I don't understand.
Boy, I do, especially if it's like getting my packages from Amazon quicker. I'll do anything to get my packages quicker.
But you know what I mean. You're not a power person either.
I like the power to lift people, because that's what Torah says, that there's two kinds of power. People who don't have the power to lift or to inspire always go to power over, power to oppress.
I see.
But if you have power within to lift and inspire, that is a great power, and it's God-given. And that's what you have.
And you.
Oh, I know I got it. I've always been grateful for that. I have been given a gift of being able to use words that inspire and lift. I mean, I couldn't be happier with that. I know it's a gift, and it makes me really happy.
It's also because you're so bold. I have to say, because you and I met when I gate crashed Ivan's show.
Yeah, that's the first time we met.
Yeah. Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
We had talked before, but we never met.
We talked before, but we hadn't met. And I just, I love to be around you.
I love to be around you.
I really do.
You are a genius and a beautiful woman, a beautiful person.
And so are you.
Thank you so much.
You really are.
We got to start some shit, and we don't have much time. What do you think's going to happen? Well, you've got to go off on the Chinese now.
Okay,
go on.
All right. So
because you're a prophetess.
So I'm.
You're an oracle.
This is the best episode we've ever done.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there are. So there are, I'm not talking about what the good guys are doing. I'm just talking about what the bad guys, for want of a better term, are planning. Now, this doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to happen, because
but this is their plan.
And in
now,
every war, both sides get a vote, right?
Yes.
So the other side gets a vote too. So there could be people working to stop this and counter these things.
Of course there are.
So I want
to say this: in every war, which I learned because I used to be a leftist in the '60s.
Yeah.
And I was in there. Half the shit them leftists say I probably wrote. I'm telling you the truth.
It probably is true.
It is true, because we took our case to the Supreme Court and won it in the '70s.
Wow.
I'm a thinker, and I was always involved in social. I care about working people. I care about fairness for working people, because I seen them all work themselves to death and then lose their house on top of it. I don't like that. And I know God doesn't like it either. Anyway, forgetting my train of thought here.
So here we go.
No, but wait, I wondered, what was I doing, Jake?
You were talking about being a leftist in the '60s, and
we were talking about two sides in every war.
Here's what I learned in the '60s. But I was pretty much in the Black Panther Party.
Yeah, when the left was
and
cool.
When I ran for president, I ran as the representative of the Black Caucus of the Black Panther Party.
Wow.
And they couldn't fucking deal with that. And then they blackballed that all out of existence. But because the working class is largely black in America.
You had more black support than Kamala.
And Oprah, and that's why Oprah freaked out on me. She canceled my show because I had more of a black demographic than her. And she's pissed. But anyway, that's a whole other subject.
Yeah, what are you saying? Sorry.
Okay.
So but wait, I'm not done.
Yeah, what are you saying? Hold on. I'm waiting for you to get to
But what I was going to say was, Jake, what am I going to say?
I don't know. I'm asking you.
I was going to say that, in every revolution is always on the same side, a negotiator and a bomber on the same side. People make a mistake in thinking that's two sides, but it ain't. They're always on the same side.
The negotiator and the bomber.
Yeah.
Is there one on each side? So there's four?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
I've never heard this.
Yes.
That's how they do. They not only create consent, they create dissent too.
Absolutely.
On the same side.
100%.
Okay, so now.
And actually, sometimes, like if you're like the Iranians,
what's the reason
who are
for
the
this?
masters of having proxies.
Proxies,
like in Iraq, they'll have like 15 proxies. So that if one of their proxies, like Muqtada al-Sadr, when he became really, popular and started to gather his own power, well, they've got, Kataib Hezbollah, led by Mohandas, and all these, they have all these other organizations to bring you down and create conflict at home. So now you're not able to concentrate on that because now you've got this problem in your backyard.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, 100%.
You know what I call it all?
What?
Fundraising scams.
Yeah.
All that friggin' war.
That's
yeah,
true
what's
too.
the reason
That's
for
true
this?
too.
Like, why would you do this?
Well, because if you've got proxies fighting for you, you never want them to get out of control.
Divide and conquer, basically.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Divide and conquer, but reward this one more than the other, and you have your, they occupy different levels, right, of closeness to you. But that's what's well, that's another thing, but I mean, that's what's extraordinary about what we're witnessing in the Middle East right now.
Absolutely.
Is that Iran's proxies are being obliterated across an entire region all in one go, and it's mind-blowing. But coming back to the U.S., let me tell you about some of the things I've learned about, which I do not believe they're not all encompassing. There's other things that are going on that I don't know about.
Yeah.
But I'm in touch with a number of different groups. Some of them are in Afghanistan. Some of them are American. A lot of them are American. A lot of them are different groups in the U.S. And they have different specialties. Some people I talk to are real cyber specialists, and they're just looking at data and what they're seeing in the cyber realm. Others, worked in the highest levels of the government in the military, and very, very good at what they do. And there's, and unfortunately, I know people say, well, why can't you tell us who? Well, because this is a death fight in a covert war, and you can't give up. You can't. Are you all good? You can't give it all that up because we're still at war. Anyway, you want water?
No,
Or wine?
No, I got my booze.
Okay.
But
So
we
this
are
is
going to
what.
talk about Space Force too, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll happily talk about
continue.
that. But so what they're tracking, what a number of different people are tracking is multiple lines of operation. I think the biggest takeaways are this. Number one, the Chinese, the Iranians, the Venezuelans, the Cubans, all of these people, U.S. adversaries, they have made good use of the vacuum in American power.
Mm-hmm.
They know that the U.S. is eating itself alive, and that from within this country, Americans are dismantling everything that it means to be American, everything that it means to be a sovereign nation. And they've built global institutions which have local government infrastructure, which they see all of that. And if you think they've been sitting there just twiddling their thumbs, not figuring out how to exploit that, well, you're an idiot and I can't help you.
Yes.
Step aside. Okay, I got no time for you. Sorry. Look at that field of fucks again. Nothing. So this is what they've been doing. They work, for example, in Venezuela. The president of Venezuela, Maduro, he went into the prisons and he didn't find bad people on the street. He went to the most violent criminals,
Rapists
behind bars, rapists, whatever,
pedophiles, murderers,
everything you can imagine.
cannibals like Jeffrey Dahmer and shit.
And out of that, he built Tren de Aragua.
Yes, he did.
That's where it came from. And then they unleashed those beasts. But who do they work with? Whether it's Blackstone, BlackRock, you name it, right? The money people. So the money people come in, and some of them have been tracked, flying into Venezuela, going into the prisons and making a deal. So you got Tren de Aragua, who is conveniently, thanks to our open border policy and the UN Global Compact on Migration that's been implemented here against the will of the American people, they have an entry point into the U.S., right? Okay, so, and what do they have as cover? Well, they have every poor person who's desperately trying to find a better life, they provide the cover, which is an old tactic, and it works. Yeah. So what happens? They come in, they've been paid to make Miami, New York, Atlanta, and there's one more, Miami, New York. Chicago. Very important.
Chicago, you know what I say about Chicago?
What?
I'm just going to watch your eyes while I say this because, there aren't many people who get me. But I figured out about when I was in the left and I was hanging out with the left.
Uh-huh.
Chicago is the home of Hamas.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me in the least.
In the least.
Not in the least. Because look at the level of violence in Chicago. That's an indicator, right? Because
it's a social experiment.
And beyond now how that's how that's been exploited is Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación, CJNG, the most violent of all the Mexican cartels that came up by building its business globally. They're in more than 48 countries, right?
Right.
They weren't stupid enough to start as the little guys in Mexico. They built up their empire globally, and then they took care of business in Mexico. Well, who are they aligned with?
Well, I know they're aligned with the Pope down there in Argentina. You know about him, right?
Oh, please.
Let's go there, girl.
Oh, the Pope is not a Pope. I mean, he is a terrible, terrible, terrible puppet of the global cult. He's just awful. There's nothing...
Yeah, I don't know any of this.
There's nothing godly in this man.
Right.
What do you mean you don't know this, Jake?
Well, you were saying
nobody knows it,
under
girl.
a rock.
Who are you? You said they were aligned with
he
someone.
don't know all this shit. Only me and you know it.
Okay.
There's only like 5 of us in the whole goddamn world that know
There's
it, girl.
more. There's more than that.
Well, where are they?
Who are they aligned with, though? You were
they're not calling me, and I'm getting pissed.
Well, think about it.
Because they're always leaving me out.
Roseanne, if the government and the president of Venezuela creates a cartel, if he's created that cartel, he did that for a reason.
Right.
Right? So this is his proxy.
Yeah, Hitler, terror.
Right. This is his proxy.
It's the friggin' Nazi street gangs, girl.
But who are they aligned with, you were just going to say?
CJNG, which is a Mexican cartel. Because CJNG had pretty much taken over Chicago.
Oh,
and
I know.
And now Tren de Aragua has moved into Chicago, but you don't hear about conflict between the Mexican and the Venezuelan cartels because they're working together. Because why?
Yeah.
Because Mexico, which is now a narco state, it's just a proxy for the cartels.
Afghanistan.
And that's for terrorism.
Okay.
But so the cartels are working together because Venezuela is working with Iran, is working with China, is working with Cuba, and so on. America's enemies have aligned, and they use the cartels because they can. Then you can say it's criminal. Oh, this was just criminal, right? No, it's not just criminal. Their
job. It ain't just criminal. That it isn't just criminal at all. That's their thing where they have that. Where you can make doubt over it. What is it? Compliant.
Oh yeah, you can create doubt. You can create ambiguity.
Plausible deniability.
Exactly.
But is America behind this? Because there's dark money going to Venezuela from here.
Yes.
What's the reasoning for this? I don't understand.
Because
the child trafficking.
Okay. So first of all,
child trafficking funds all the black ops.
That is part of it.
Bingo.
That is definitely part of it. However, they're being paid.
God loves
They're being paid by America's domestic enemies
Yes.
to come here and destabilize these cities and create conflict with the black gangs and the Sicilian gangs, the Italian mob. Still,
why?
To make these cities ungovernable.
No. Let me go where I went with my tweet.
Yeah, somebody explain it to me.
Now this is going to be able to explain my tweet that got me fired and whitelisted by all the black people and blacklisted by all the white people.
Congrats,
Jews.
by the way.
Yeah, because
twofer.
It's a twofer.
I think you're the only person I know who's as good at getting canceled as me.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, bitches.
Seriously, I know. It's a whole chapter in my book to be.
All right,
well, this was my fantasy that we do The View.
Well, no, let's wrap up this idea.
Okay,
you guys
Jake,
are all
wait, what are we even talking about?
You were saying your tweet. She was talking about the cartel.
My tweet.
Yeah, wrap up a point.
My tweet was a warning to the black community of what was going to happen to them. And it's true.
So what did it say?
It was saying that the Obama administration under Valerie Jarrett, a Stalinist, who's such, I thought she is Iranian. I didn't know.
She is.
Well, she says African American like Kamala Harris.
Please, give me a break.
But listen, this how African American she is. And this was why I didn't think she was. Realizing that I thought she was white. I thought the bitch was white, as I said. It was true.
We sell that shirt, everybody.
I thought the bitch was white. And why did I think she's white? Because she owned Cabrini Greens, the most horrific slum in the fucking country. Black children was living with rats and no running water, no electricity. Black children were living with rapists and drug crackheads.
Surprised you didn't think she was Jewish.
And the city of Chicago, under Mayor Daley, who was her mentor when she worked for the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
Okay. She was so fucking nasty that the most corrupt fucking city since Sodom and Gomorrah took her fucking slum away from her. They took Cabrini Green away because they're like, you can't treat black people worse than the slavers did, bitch. And they all took her side against me for saying she militarized the American police force because there's coming a black genocide here. And that is why they brought the people. They brought the gangs in for black genocide like it is in the prisons.
Well, that's very interesting.
In the prisons, that's what's happening.
That's very interesting.
The Hispanic gangs have...
Is that true?
Listen, the Hispanics have teamed up with the Aryans against the blacks in the prisons, and that's where everything starts in America is the prisons.
Well, that's where Tren de Aragua, this cartel, began in Venezuela.
Of course, it's all the prisons.
Why would they go after the blacks first?
Well, I'll tell you this. I can't speak to the genocide.
But there's got to be a better strategy.
They're racist Nazi eugenicists.
There's got to be a strategy.
They always give up their fucking slaves first.
But why would they go for
That's
the?
why
Okay.
they have
Yeah, please
slaves.
So, all right. So remember just
sorry.
recently when they talked about Nicaragua taking over buildings in Chicago?
Yeah,
Oh,
just
I
a
know
hand-
all
just
about
a
There were a
handful.
lot of
Just a
black
handful.
people in Chicago
Right.
that were going on
They're
like
pissed.
gangsters and saying they don't know what they're doing. They're not taking out turf, whatever, right? So if you look, I have video that I can show you of a guy in a restaurant. There's two black people sitting there. They're just eating their food, some fast food place in Chicago. This guy's rummaging around in his suitcase, pulls out a weapon, walks up to one, shoots him in the head. The other one's begging for his life. He executes him. I mean, this is happening almost every day in Chicago.
Yeah.
They are trying to incite a war between the
Was
Venezuelan.
that a white guy that did that or a black guy?
I don't even remember. No, it was. I think it's Hispanic.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, I
okay.
think he's
Probably
from Tunisia.
cartel.
They said he was from Tunisia.
Oh, yeah.
So, but what the point is that
They're killing black guys.
But
in
why?
This, they're not just.
American black
I'm
men.
trying to
I know,
answer
she
the question,
interrupts. She's
Jake.
got-
I'm sorry,
I'm trying to
Jody.
tell you why.
I know. I'm trying
Tell
to
us
help you.
why. Shut up, Jake.
They paid Tren de Aragua, the Venezuelan cartel, to go into these 4 cities: Atlanta, Miami, Chicago, and now I said the other one.
Chicago?
It has gone out of my head again.
Oh,
It's,
honey, I'm
it's the
sorry.
wine. It's your fault.
I know it's
It's
my
your
fault.
fault.
It'll come
Seriously.
back. We'll
Anyway,
get it.
I already said it. But in these 4 cities, that's what Tren de Aragua's job is to destabilize the city completely. Is that just to prevent the election from happening? Is that going to happen? Is that, remember I said, one line of operation. I know that was done, that they were paid to do that. And I've started to dig into it. In Chicago, the level of violence right now between these 2 factions is off the charts.
Right.
I know that Tren de Aragua is working with CJNG, which is this Mexican cartel. I know that the Sinaloa cartel is working with Cartel del Sols, which is the much bigger, older Venezuelan cartel that has $3 trillion in liquid assets. And they're the ones who are working with the IRGC, which is the Iranian assets, to bring those surface-to-air missiles across the border.
Right.
You've got these kill teams. I don't know. I know there are some IRGC members on these kill teams, these 3 teams. I don't know who all the people are. Well, and I've been told some of them are IRGC and some of them are not. But I according to what
IRGC.
Is the Iranian Revolutionary Guard
It's
Corps.
ISIS.
It's so that's
Continue,
you're
sorry.
right. And so what you have multiple lines of operation that are all aimed at either preventing the election if they can, which they may not be able to do.
That's what I think.
Yeah. You have a bet with Michael
or
Morales.
even if the election happens, one scenario is that both sides claim fraud, which is a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
But what we know is they have a plan working together to begin violence. It's already begun in those cities that I've mentioned. They're already working on that. But they're also working with the Chinese Communist Party come the end of October to shut down the power grid, right? Which will plunge the country
And the
into
internet.
chaos.
Mhm.
Yes. And most hospitals, cell towers, all these things, they have emergency generators, but they don't have fuel for more than 3 or 5 or 7 days. So once,
They want to shut it down for 10 days, which causes the maximum pain.
or longer.
Or
Or longer. Once your emergency generators run out of fuel, then it takes about 3 minutes
No
for people
food.
on life support to start dying, right? I know it's like they have the rules of 3 minutes, 3 hours, 3 days, 3 weeks. 3 days is the first people to start dying without water. 3 weeks is the first people to start dying without food. But that's just one. If you're the Chinese, right? We know military-aged males have crossed the southern border from China in the tens of thousands. There's people,
and from Iran,
yes,
all over.
from ISIS. I mean.
absolutely. But when you look at, so I'm looking at the Chinese CCP line of operation right now, right? So they're working with the Venezuelans. They know they've got Tren de Aragua working with CJNG to create gang warfare in 4 critical major cities. At the same time, they've got these kill teams that have crossed the border, these surface-to-air missiles that have come in. I will say to you, this comes from human sources, and I have seen evidence of that. It also comes from signals intelligence, which is intercepted communications. I can't give you more detail because people
I understand.
will literally die. But I can tell you that these surface-to-air missiles were moved several times.
I know that.
And they finally got them over the border when they had the right people from Customs and Border Protection and the AMOC, which is the Air and Marine Operations Center, when they had their people from the inside on the ground, they got those missiles over. And I understand, I'm told that 2 of the kill teams were tracked to Florida. I don't know if they've since left there, but the aim was President Trump and his plane, but there's other people on a list that are targeted too. Critical people that are seen as big enough to create enough chaos. Because how do you prevent the election from happening? Well, you destabilize your big cities. If you're working with the CCP, they shut down the power grid. Then they go into what is called, there's electronic surveillance, electronic protection, and then electronic attack.
What about weapon warfare?
This is just China taking us down, is what it is.
Well, that can be another line of operation, right? By no means what I'm describing is it definitive. So, and they have multiple lines of operation. Because,
they control everything.
And as they get shut down here, they want to still have the ability to get the effect they want, so they come up here.
The wellness company, their emergency kit completely removes any gatekeepers, so that you don't have to panic when you get sick, because you've got like your own pharmacy in the cupboard at your home.
Yeah.
It's so great. I'm so glad I have it. And they send you stuff for bacterial infections, staph, bite wounds, UTIs, strep throat, respiratory illnesses. You don't have to be at mercy of somebody else to help you, which is great. I'm currently sick at home, and lucky I had one of those kits, and I'm already taking the meds, and I'm feeling a lot better than I did 2 days ago. Getting an emergency kit is fully digital, all from the convenience of your couch, but get it before you're sick. You fill out an intake form, a pharmacist reviews and approves it, and then you get the kit within 2 weeks. The medical board approved guidebook crafted by Dr. Peter McCullough tells you exactly what you can do. So go to twc.health/RB and use the code RB to get $30 off and free shipping. That's twc.health/RB, code RB for $30 off and free shipping. Don't wait for the next crisis to hit. Be prepared.
So we know that they have 120,000 members of the People's Liberation Army, uniformed officers and soldiers who have crossed the southern border.
Absolutely.
Many of these, when they were asked, were very cagey. A lot of them admitted when they were asked where they were going, when they were in the Darien Gap and on the route in, and they were asked, where are you going? They said, to the camps. Well, where are those?
To the camps. Yeah, I was going to ask you that about the Darien Gap. We barely could find any information, but we knew that shit was going down there, but we could barely find any information on the internet about it.
It's the route. It's the route in. And I think that Panama...
The route in where?
From all over the world. From all over the world, people converge there, whether they come from Africa, from the Democratic Republic of Congo.
And that's in Panama?
It's in Panama, yes.
Is that the Panama Canal that America built?
No, the Darien Gap is very, it's brutally rugged, difficult terrain. I mean, no protection there. There's no calling police when your coyote who's leading you in says, I'm going to rape your 8-year-old daughter, and if you say anything about it, I'm going to execute you right here. I mean, those are the kind of things people have described as happened to them along the way. It's just geographically the corridor. It's the corridor where you can traipse through the forest and get to the United States, because when you see those, you see those caravans, but Todd Bensman from, can't remember his organization. I think it's the Institute for Immigration Studies, or the Center for Immigration Studies, TSIS. He spent a lot of time in the Darien Gap documenting this. Michael Yon spent a lot of time documenting this. There is information out there, but what they would do, they were among many who would ask people, where are you going? Well, typically someone says, I'm going to Texas, I'm going to California, or I'm going to New York. But a lot of the Chinese wouldn't talk. And when they did talk, if they would talk, they often said they were going to the camps. Well, we know that the Chinese had 21 police stations on U.S. soil.
Yes,
one of them was shut down.
Right.
So you know that the Chinese is operating police stations, camps. What else are they operating? Well, we know that they've bought up all this land, agricultural land, and
yeah,
a lot of it here.
And whereas
I was an investor in buying up American farmlands, and I was irate when I found out my fellow investors were the fucking Chinese.
there you go.
I was irate. I said,
Yeah.
This is about American farmers, you sons of bitches.
But look where a lot of that land is concentrated, around sensitive military installations and Air Force bases. So,
and that's where they infiltrated, ain't it?
yes.
That's where the Satanists infiltrated.
They've already infiltrated. Now it's where they're staged for operations.
You know what I call all that, honey?
What?
God gave me the download. That's the military.
That's correct. That allowed that to happen.
Yeah.
Just like they allowed that Chinese spy balloon. So I know some of the members of the teams that had that balloon, that could have taken that balloon down before it entered U.S. airspace, but that order was denied.
I know that.
So then they allowed that balloon to cross the U.S. until it was finally shot down. I think by the time we got to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, those boys, known as the D boys, and the others who were based there, they were like, we're not doing this. And they brought it down. But according to...
Fort Bragg is an interesting place.
Very interesting place.
They had their own Jeffrey what's-his-ass up there.
Yes, they did. So what has happened, Roseanne, though, is that what we've now uncovered from Chinese sources is what information they were gathering with that balloon. And one of the things they were doing was to sweep up the frequencies and locations of all the ground and sea radar stations. Mm-hmm. So now, in order to shut down the power grid, it's been out there that you can, there are these 18 to 20 transformers that you can hit and the whole grid's down for the country. Mm-hmm. Well, you hit some of these radar stations and what happens to your commercial air traffic? Boom, it's grounded. Mm-hmm. Then we know from Chinese sources that they have 150,000 autonomous suicide drones that are equipped with an explosive payload, but are also AI learning. So they've taken open source information such as the manuals of F-35, and other planes, aircraft within the U.S. Air Force and beyond, and they've programmed these autonomous drones to be able to prioritize targets. So they can fly these drones over a U.S. base and they can find the aircraft that they want and they can get rid of them when they're on the tarmac, or they can wait for it to be taxiing when there's a pilot in there, or when they've got a unit of special operators, like SEAL Team 6 is on board and they're taking off, and you can take them all out, before they take off. So those are the things our military and veterans and intelligence agents worry about, because when you have that kind of capability, that's what you can do. Now, that's not taking into account whatever mitigation.
And may I say, a lot of that came from Israeli military intelligence.
Well, I think that's a two-way relationship.
It certainly should be.
Not if Biden and Harris have anything to do with it.
No, they're trying to shut that whole thing down. They're trying to go, you're going to go.
Well, they would happily see Israel sink into the sea and every
they hate
Jew
Israel.
Murdered. Yeah, they do, with an undying passion.
They hate it with her, excuse me, degenerate, fake Jewish husband I'd like to kick right in the balls.
Let's just say that if accountability is coming, I'm not going to shed any tears.
I am the accountability, bitches.
You're the secretary of retribution?
I am.
You're going to work with Ivan Reagan?
I was selected by the people.
She who must be obeyed?
That's right.
What can we do, Laura? Like, this is really terrifying shit. Like, you can't just leave right now.
Well, the thing to understand is that we do have mitigation measures in place.
But
right?
Are they all infiltrated? I mean, are the people we can trust? I mean, how deep is China?
Well, wait a minute now. I'm going to tell you something. No, you tell me everything you've got to say.
As I would say, I'm not all-seeing and all-knowing, right? As my mother would say, my mother used to say, who died and made you the oracle and the miracle? But I'm sad to say neither the oracle nor the miracle. So I can't tell you everything, but obviously we have defensive measures that are in place. Now, there is enough.
Who's we?
Well, the United States has. And
the Constitutional Republic of the United States?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. This is where we get into the terrain that you love.
I love it. Love,
This is
Answer-
what Jake says we're
Yeah,
not.
no. Answer me first, and then you guys can go crazy.
Okay.
Please.
Semper Fi.
Okay, so this is the thing.
Semper Fi.
Jake, the
Take the wine
Chinese,
away.
we know that this is planned, and the plan is to begin operations Semper Fi.
It is Semper Fi.
Wait, just do this, and then you guys can talk
Hell
about Trump's in
yeah.
charge and all your bullshit.
Always faithful.
I'll let you have your
Yeah,
bullshit.
hell
Just please
yeah.
answer me on this.
Okay,
and then you
so
can
this
be
is the
crazy.
thing. They have
Jake, go get my
they have things in
cigarettes.
Shove
place.
the wine.
No, I
She
need
wants her
cigs.
cigarettes. They have things in place to do this, Jake, and they have a plan to do
Oh,
this.
we know they do.
And they're working with the cartels, and they have other parts of these planned operations. But that doesn't account for countermeasures and mitigation and whatever else might or might not be happening. I know that a lot of people are very frustrated because they're working on this and they can't get Congress to take them seriously because Congress is overwhelmed with other stuff. And
Congress bunch
and-
of prostitutes.
Yeah, aren't
For
they part of?
lobbyists.
Aren't they part of
They
Chinese
ain't no
fucking?
goddamn lawmakers.
They're probably
Well-
infiltrated too.
They're
Oh, yeah,
inside
for sure.
traders for their
and
own.
compromise.
They're selling out their own people who voted for them's lives for their personal enrichment. They're nothing but
Yes.
prostitutes.
So what can
That
we do?
is true.
They're serial killing
Is
motherfuckers.
Trump our only hope? Is that where we're at now, or you don't even think he's?
Oh
enough?
no! I mean,
God's our
Trump
only
is a
hope.
life raft. Yeah, that's what he
God
is.
is our
But-
only hope. And God
God is our
loves
best
Trump.
hope.
God told me, Roseanne, tell everybody out there, I love Trump. You let them know this is God and I love Trump. Tell them, Roseanne.
I think more and more and more people are seeing that every day.
I do too.
God just loves Trump
Yes.
because Trump loves the Jews. I mean, he loves the Jews. He loves the Jewish state. Hello? That's God. Why can't people see that? Because they're idiots or drunk or pedophiles or fucked up losers or what? What is it?
Maybe all of the above.
Well, what can we do? Answer that, and then I'll.
Okay,
Jay, go
so-
get my cigarettes,
I will, but she's got to
please,
answer
son.
this question for me. I'm not leaving
Okay,
because I
I'm
want to
sorry.
hear it.
Okay.
I'm waiting.
Well,
I need a
there's
cigarette.
lots of things that you can do. First of all, speak up. Speak up. Recognize the threat from the Chinese, working with the Venezuelans, the Iranians, the Cubans,
and
and
we're
so
a
on.
lot of us we're funding it with dark money.
Oh, yeah, they
Oh,
all,
without-
So
the
it's-
whole
without a
world's
doubt.
funded.
Right.
Without a
No,
doubt.
but American
Every war's
tax-paying
funded
money.
with our
Yes.
money.
Yes, I've said it.
Our
So how do we
sweat
s-
and tears
should-
and
should I
the
mute
blood
her?
of our children that we sent to defend this constitutional republic is funding every horrible con and war on this earth. And the
Yes.
people are owed an accounting. Am I right?
Well, what do we do?
What I say is that we're slitting our own throats, and we paid for the knife, and we pay the executioner's salary. That's what we're doing.
Hells
and by the
yeah.
way, when you're beheaded, it takes a long time. You got to sew and all the rest, unless you have
That's
already
why I
sharp
like
sword.
the guillotine. I'd rather go that way.
But we're buying the guillotine.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing, right? We're paying for our own undoing. So stop doing it. Stop doing it. Well, there's a number of things, Jake. It depends on who you
Well,
are.
now that's a
And-
Can you
conversation.
please let her answer this question?
It is a conversation.
It's
I'm
45
sorry.
minutes.
I'm going to go get a cigarette. I'm sorry,
we
but
can
you're
wrap
so
up.
interesting. I want to ask you questions.
Well, we can smoke, but just let her answer this one question.
Okay, go.
Please.
Well,
and then
the
I'll
first
get your
thing you
cigarette.
have to do is speak up
Hit your mic.
and pressure people. And you have, we know this election is life or death.
We do.
It really is.
Can you
and
get your hand off
and
the mic? You're vibrating. There you go. Thank you.
life
For
is
all the children of this world.
without a doubt. 100%. So, if you haven't volunteered, take the day off work and volunteer at a polling station. Do it. Be present outside your polling
Mhm.
station.
Know what's
Let
going
them know
on.
that you're watching them.
Yes.
And by the way, here's something that you can do. You can demand that your election officials do a logic and accuracy test after the vote.
Absolutely.
Because the logic and accuracy test is the responsibility of the election officials, right?
Mhm.
And they don't have to get special permission. You don't need to change the law. You don't need to do anything like that. They usually do this test before the election. And the way they do it, this is how they validate the machines and say, okay, this machine it's been zeroed. It's now ready for voting. Well, the way they do that is the voting company gives them some fake ballots. And you run those fake ballots, you do the test, and you say, okay, we're good to go. Well, now do that test after the vote and make sure that it's still good to go, that there was nothing that changed inside that machine. And don't do it with fake ballots, do it with real ballots, because you don't need anyone's permission. You don't have to ask anyone. You don't have to ask your boss if you can do it, right? And now you can match those results. And if those people who are planning to cheat, who've already built into the election files enough code to flip votes and whatever else they're going to be doing, when they know that you're doing a logic and accuracy test with real ballots and it's not going to match what you had before the election, they're up shit creek without a paddle.
Okay.
Because that's one tangible thing that everybody can do. So the election, concentrating on the election, getting people to vote. Christians, shame on you.
Yeah.
Shame on you.
Yeah.
What
It's
is
all up to them.
It is.
How many
But here's
Christians?
what I have to say
Roseanne,
to them.
how many Christians show up to vote?
They don't know what's
30%?
going on.
30%? So
No,
33%, something like that?
Because nobody's telling what's going on but me
I heard
right
No
now.
more excuses.
Yeah.
No,
Get
because
out.
they
Get
don't
off your
know.
butts.
They don't know. I'm going to tell
Get
them.
off your butts and go
No,
vote.
no.
Why
Let
don't
me
they
tell
vote?
them why.
Okay.
As when I was in Israel, I said we were right there in the Galilee, me and several other students of Torah. We were right there in the Galilee, and it was on Passover or around there. It was on that week. I'm not sure about that, but anyway, it was a holiday. And our cell phones rang, and I've told this story everywhere. And it said Iran. It was an area code to, I can't remember who got it first, but it all hooked up right. And they said to us on the phone, we don't know how they got our numbers. They said, we are calling you from Iran to tell you we love the Jewish people and we love Israel.
Mm-hmm. I've seen that a lot.
And that's how I hooked up with starting to talk to journalists there who I was tweeting my message to of what they did in Iran, now they're doing in America, to destroy the merchant class, to destroy women-owned business, everything they're doing.
And to destroy
with the
women.
COVID. Yeah, to destroy women. But what I did find out is that what happened in Iran, this blew my mind. I don't look at it like most people, but I feel like anyone who's connected to Torah is, the same. And I know Christians are very connected to Torah, and so are many Muslims. So I think it's about Torah. That's because I'm a Jew,
Yeah.
So anyway, they said a large percentage of the Iranian people have converted to Christianity. That's what they told me. And, it's not an anti-Semite Christianity. It's a Jew-loving Christianity, which, of course, we love that, We prefer that,
Yeah.
Of course, because, rational self-interest.
Yeah.
Of course, you're not going to love your enemies, but we are brainwashed to do that. It's all of us, though. We're all brainwashed to protect and love our enemies that are trying to kill us. That's the fucking mind control thing. That's what makes us hate God, That's what leads us astray. It don't make sense, because that's what they do. They get in there and cut that connection, so that we think, oh, he's not helping, he's not saving me.
Yeah,
I'm
he doesn't
crying
care.
to the wilderness.
Why
Where's
don't
God now?
evangelicals vote?
Huh?
Why don't evangelicals vote?
But they don't know that this war is being won by Christians in Iran. And also, I found out through Kirsten, remember, that a large percentage of China has gone Christian as well, originating in Wuhan.
Oh,
That
interesting.
was a little bit of a spiritual war going on there in Wuhan. And
Yeah, because they certainly got rid of a lot of people there.
but a lot of Christians came out of there, and it spread through China. And once you get a connection to Torah, that you automatically have to move towards justice and righteousness. That's what it's about, So you see, like, oh boy, this is a turning toward the creator.
Yeah.
And the author.
Yeah.
So that's all cool, man. It's so great to see it. I mean, that's how the eyes I'm seeing it through, because I'm a Jewy Jew.
What else can we do? We should probably.
Well,
I want to keep on talking. I want to talk to you
gotta
about.
Speak up. That's the most important thing. You got to speak up. You got to demand answers. You got to be aware. I have a deep-rooted suspicion that at this point, I know a lot of people don't agree with me, even a lot of the people I'm talking to. But I think in one sense, this election's already been won.
You think so?
Really? How?
By Trump or by China?
By Trump.
I do too.
Oh, God.
What do you mean by that? Because I feel the same way.
Look at, we talked a little bit about how panicked and terrified Obama looked the other day.
Oh, yeah. He looked like a phantom.
Yeah, and look what all their old tactics are failing. They tried the weird line. I mean, that was ridiculous. It fizzled. First of all, it was when they said Republicans are so weird. J.D. Vance is so weird. Remember when they tried to introduce that?
I didn't notice that.
Oh, yeah, no, it worked for a little while.
It didn't really work, because what happened is immediately people said, what the hell are you talking about? And then also, it doesn't get weirder than Tim Walz taking gay kids to concerts, when he's a teacher. I mean, that's pretty damn weird. And nothing is, what are you talking about? You're the party of weirdos. What's weirder than seeing a grown man dressed as a woman half naked in a school with kids?
100%.
I mean, I'm sorry. If anybody's got
Vance isn't weird.
You've got the
like
monopoly
time to wake
of
up
weirdness.
From bullshit.
Yeah. And Vance isn't weird at all. He's actually very articulate.
No, he's not weird. He's very not weird.
You noticed it went away after the debate?
Because it failed. Because it failed.
Of course it failed.
Jake, but
I see what you say.
Do you see what I mean?
Of course.
In the old days, right, they would be able to put whatever line they wanted to. Trump
is friggin' John Wayne.
Well,
he's a hunk and a half.
No, he is. No, he did an amazing job.
Is he your type?
He's everybody's type. I'm a little gay for Vance, if I'm honest. I was like watching the debate like this.
Manly.
Jake, does your wife know about this?
She does. She's giving me a free pass.
He's hot male sex.
Oh my God.
But hold on, wait. So
and you have the cutest little babies.
Thank you. But they did.
No, but I'm saying it, and I don't even have a sex drive.
Wait, did it die? What happened to it? What happened to your sex drive?
Well, it just got old and frizzled.
But you're still rocking it. Look at you.
No, I have none, and I feel free. I'm so grateful that God removed my sex drive. He did, Miss. Now I can think clearly. I'm not trying to snare any fucker.
Would you ever get married again?
Fuck no. I said I would if the guy was terminally ill.
And very rich.
And richer than me. I will marry him in a
Wait,
minute.
you know your gay joke about how if you're against gay marriage, you should be for the right to marry because that'll put an end to all that gay sex? For you, getting married might end the sex thing overall, once and for all. You should get married so you never have to have sex again, is what I'm saying.
She doesn't have to anyway.
Say, no, I
but
might as well be married.
It.
But I want to marry, it's kind of the same thing. But I want to marry a guy who thinks like me. And there are none.
There's mental hospitals all over Texas. You can go there right now. I could find 30 or 40 that think like you.
Or if you don't find anyone you like in the mental hospitals, you can go to the homeless camps.
Yeah, or a bus stop. Any bus stop.
Or a bus stop. A bus stop is good, Jake. Because there's new people at the bus stop every day.
Now, did you hear what I said? Been there, done that.
Or I can introduce you to a couple people.
Please do.
I want to here's who I want. Oh, I'm already thinking who I want. Why?
JD Vance.
I don't want to do anything with them. The only thing I would love to do is cook for them and fix up their house. I'd like to.
You want to fix up my house?
Well, no,
Are you guys going to enter a lesbian marriage? Is that what's happening here? I feel like I'm at the inception of something beautiful. Oh, you're
It
married.
might
I'm
as well
stealing
be
your mother.
lesbian because we wouldn't have sex. Just like if I was with a guy, I wouldn't have sex. So it might as well be a lesbian thing.
There's the
I'm
small
never gonna
issue
have
of my
sex with
husband.
any
Yeah.
lesbians.
Well, he might be into it.
No,
I don't
I'm
know.
never gonna have sex with a woman,
No.
and they
It's
all
not fun.
resent me for it just because I'm not trans lesbian.
All right. This is so good.
Come on, this is much better than the CCP.
I agree.
I mean, we're free to say stupid shit here
For now.
and get
Yeah.
a laugh.
Yeah.
They can't do that in friggin' snake eating China.
Oh, wait, you were saying they are.
Can I kidnap you?
Yeah.
And we'll go on a road trip. I know you don't like
I'd
to
love
travel.
to go on a road
She
trip.
can't leave
Come on.
Texas, Laura. Don't let her leave Texas.
Why?
Okay.
I want to go to road trip.
He-
I told you if you take me over there to Africa, I'll take you over there to Galilee, and
Done.
I told you I'll take all y'all Christian over there and show you stuff you don't know about.
I want to see it. I do.
You should know.
I do. I mean, obviously, I've spent time in Israel. I was there in the Second Intifada, and I was in Ramallah and Gaza and Hebron
Good
and West
Lord.
Bank, and yeah.
What do you think about what's going on now? It never stopped, did it? It's been going on
Oh.
forever, and that they pretend like it stops and starts and starts. But that's a genocidal enemy.
That's the problem. You know,
They're
there's
genocide. They're friggin' Nazis. They think the Jews are demons.
well,
Hello.
you know,
They
that's
don't think we're like just bad drivers.
no. You know, I lived in the Middle East, right? So I saw and heard the things that they teach kids about Jewish people. That literally they teach that Jewish people are not human
I know. We're devils
and pigs.
and pigs and apes.
And that, you know, I mean, it's unbelievable. I think most of the world has no idea about the
They
details
don't want to know.
of the propaganda. No, they don't
They
want to
teach
know.
that here in the public schools, pretty much. If
Yeah,
you really think about it.
It's truly astonishing. It is. It truly is. You know, I had an Israeli boyfriend once, and when I came, I don't know why I was in. I think I was in the UAE, and you having some issues there.
I was
Roseanne.
looking down and going, which one is my boob? This thing?
It's like Total Recall. You got 3 boobs.
This bread, this loaf of bread thing with no division.
That's
Or
not your
these
boobs.
two things.
Yeah, those are your boobs.
Oh, okay.
All right, we have to. Please.
No, shut up.
No.
What?
Okay. Well, no, I just said I had an Israeli boyfriend once, and I was in the Middle East, and a particular country, I believe it was, I was in Dubai, and I
wanna
tried to
go
make a
there.
phone call to him, and I could not. I was going nuts. I was calling and calling and calling. It wouldn't go through. Wouldn't go through. Eventually, I called the operator at the hotel, and I said, "Can you help me place this call?" And I gave her the number, and she said, "Where is this going to?" And I said, "To Israel." And she said, "Oh, no, that's not allowed. It's banned. You can't make a phone call from Dubai in the United Arab Emirates to Israel. That's the depth
And
of
you can't
hatred."
fly or do
A
business
lot of the time,
with.
when I went into Iraq, you know, we all knew if you had an Israeli stamp in your passport,
You could
you,
never
you
go.
couldn't even go into the country.
Because it's
So
Judenrein.
it really is. And so it was just, you know, and look, I have a lot of Arab, Muslim, Palestinian friends, people who are not just friends to me, some who are some of the closest people in my life.
Me too.
And so
That's why I have to kick their ass.
I've seen both sides of the war. I've been there when there's been Israeli airstrikes and helped dig through the rubble to pull out, you know, Palestinian children and rush to the hospitals and seen the grieving. And I've you remember when they murdered those Israeli probably intelligence agents in Ramallah
Yeah.
at the police station. So I was there. And then, you know, Israel was sending its helicopters and you're running and there's no hotels open. So you're sleeping on the floor. I slept with this one Palestinian family on the floor of their nursery with their, you know, their babies were in the crib. They had 2 little kids. And so, I mean, and I have I hate to see anybody suffer, but one side of this war, stated position and goal is genocide.
I know, but everybody's like,
It's like,
oh, they don't mean it. They just mean that they don't like Rosh Hashanah.
hey, what are you talking about? They don't mean it. I mean, first of all, that's unknowable.
It's like
So
their
you're full of shit.
foundation.
Yeah, totally.
And
full of
It's
secondly,
like
what
the
if they
friggin'
do?
Nazis.
They do mean it. They're overt
They
about
mean it.
They said it. They've said it over and over and again for decades. This is not. They haven't changed their
No, for
slogan.
centuries.
Centuries.
And Mohammed himself was a Jew.
And you know, Roseanne,
That's what I don't get how they mess that one up. But a lot of real Muslims, no, but a lot of real Muslims know because it's in Quran.
Okay,
and, Muhammad was a Jew, and he was, protesting certain iniquities that he didn't like.
I don't.
As
I
was
have not
Jesus
studied
in
that,
a
so I
way.
want to say for the record, I
he
do
liked
not
the
know
Jews
if that
until
is
they
true.
refused to bow, and then he.
Okay, wait, Roseanne, I want to tell you
What?
a story
Okay.
that I think you will enjoy.
Oh,
When I
boy.
was working for 60 Minutes, I was a full-time correspondent at the show, and we went to ancient Mesopotamia, which is the north of Iraq. This is when ISIS had control of Mosul. And so we were all along the Nineveh Plains and all of that area around. Now, what's very interesting to me about Syria versus
Nineveh.
Iraq is that, in Syria, which is the home of the apostles, right? The Syrians, even through the war, dug in and they were working to repair and rebuild their land. Right across the border in Iraq, there's this mass exodus of Christians as ISIS is moving its way, through Nineveh and all those places of ancient Mesopotamia, those very old villages, Al-Kosh, Tarakosh, and so on. These are the places where Jesus is said to have actually walked the cobbled streets, and there's evidence of that. So I went in there.
Guess what?
What?
I went down every one of them.
Did you?
Yeah.
I went down a lot of them, but not every one. When did you do that?
Since I first went there to Israel.
Well, this is across the border in Iraq. So you might have gone there too. But when I went there, of course, this whole territory ISIS had moved through there, right? And they'd dismantled the churches and all of that. And of course, that's where they took the Yazidi people hostage and murdered many and took the sex slaves.
I was just thinking Jerusalem. So Iraq is like, the way I'm thinking of Iraq when we invaded there, here's what I just want to go on this plane with you. Now, when I saw they were going after Iraq, and because there's these double underground economies.
Yeah.
And there's the organ economy and the blood economy.
Sure, there are. Those things are
and
real.
Then there's the religious icon economy.
Oh, that's worth a fortune.
And above that is the art vampire economy, like a Marina Abramovich art.
Awful.
But the Jewish religious implements are most highly valued by collectors.
Yeah. Well, what happened to all that? All that was stolen from the Jews by the Nazis? Where did it all go?
Well, it went the same place where everything in Iraq that was stolen from every synagogue there went.
The Vatican?
Okay, so some of it to the Vatican. So let me tell you what happened when I went there. Now, ISIS, some of the villages had been reclaimed from ISIS. They still had a lot of the territory. And what was interesting is that, they enslaved the Christians, put the jizya on them, but they murdered a lot of others. And it really comes down to this thing of the people of the book, right? Because Christians,
the people of the book,
and what people don't really understand is that when the Ottoman Empire moved through all these lands, they would win battles, but what they would do then is they would leave much of the Christian infrastructure in place, or Jewish, and then they would institute the jizya, which was the tax.
Right.
And over time, as they took over, they would say, raise your tax. So if you were a property owner, eventually it got to the point, or a business owner, or a farm, you had a farm, you would hand over more and more and more of your property because your taxes just kept going up and up and up. And then eventually you were impoverished, and your choice was, you could convert to Islam and stop paying the jizya.
That's right.
Or you could be killed, banished,
Church
whatever.
and state came together.
So there I went into that area to see what had happened to the Christians under ISIS. And I went into one of the villages.
It's unspeakable.
It was, but it's hard sometimes to get the absolute facts. So you would ask something like, I had read in this that Jesus had walked the streets of this village, and I wanted to know, how old is the village? So you ask all these people, everybody gives you a different answer. I mean, it's just unbelievable. 2 hours later, you're still talking about how old is the fucking village, okay? I can't even get a fixed date. This one says this one says this one says that. Sure, Wikipedia says this, but you think I want to go with Wikipedia? No, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually I said, okay, take me to the oldest building in the village. Because I figured, okay, if I've got a building that has a date on it that it was built, I can at least verify how old that building is. I know the place is at least as old as that building. Right. And so where do you think they took me?
No idea.
Remember, I had lived in Baghdad for 5 years. I had reported from Syria, Jordan, all over the Middle East. I had lived in Afghanistan for years. I lived in Jerusalem. I went all over the Palestinian territories. It never once occurred to me. Like, for me, this was so profoundly seeped in Islam. That was my experience of it. And there's so few Christians and even fewer Jews. So I follow these men in the village. We walk and they take us to the oldest building. I'm expecting a mosque.
Temple.
Synagogue.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
Of course.
Synagogue.
Mm-hmm.
We had a long conversation there. They told me all about the history of the Jewish people and when they came and the years and blah, blah, blah. So I think, okay, I'm on a roll here. I'm actually getting real information that's verifiable. So I said, okay, take me to the second oldest building. I want to see. And where do you think they took me then?
A church?
Another synagogue?
A
Christian
church.
church?
Oh, a
A
church.
church.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then I said, okay, where's the mosque? They said, oh, we'll take you there. I said, how old is the mosque? It came 600 years. The first mosque was built in that village more than 600 years after the Christians,
Mm-hmm.
who came after the
Mm-hmm.
Jews. And so the Assyrians, people who straddle both sides of that border, Syria and Iraq,
Mm-hmm.
they're so fascinating because they were the first people who as a nation converted to Christianity in the 1st century AD. And this is the Syrian territory. These people, I went to a church service there in one of these villages that's still in Aramaic. Okay, these people still pray and learn in Aramaic. We opened our piece with that, I think, if I remember right, maybe. But it was definitely in our 60-minute story. But so what was so fascinating to me is to learn that for 600 years, the first Muslims, after Christianity, the first Muslims never set foot on that soil.
Uh-huh.
And that the Jews, when you're in Israel, especially when you're dealing with the whole Israeli-Palestinian issue, it's who does it belong to?
Yeah.
Who was there
Well,
first?
they didn't
Who
even
claims
come into existence till 1400 years after the Jews, who they call occupiers.
Right.
I mean, it's just double mind
Right.
control.
Right, it really is. And that I was someone who had never occurred to me. I never saw that land. I knew there were Christians and Jews there.
Mhm.
I knew some of the history, but I never saw that as belonging to either of them. You still in your head, it belongs completely to the Muslim people. And then you realize, wait a minute, there was a time, hundreds of years when they never even, they had no claim to this place because they didn't even exist here.
They're the colonizers.
And
They are the colonizers. They're the
were.
imperialists.
Ottoman Empire was not a Jewish empire. It was not a Christian empire.
and Rome wasn't either. And neither
Well, there's
were
a guy
the
out
Greeks.
there's a guy who does this thing when you get accused of being called the Crusades. They throw the Crusades at you because the Christians are so evil. They did the Crusades, and he says that was after these Christian lands were invaded by
That's
the
right.
Ottomans, right? And he
Right.
lists all the Christian lands. And I'm not justifying or apologizing, or I'm not any
No,
of that.
but it's all history.
But we want the truth. I
Yeah,
want
we
the real
want all
history.
of
I want the
history
whole
told.
That's the
of
point of
history.
history.
And it has the great point of history is that it has the exact same agent at its core. All of it.
All of it. So my thing when you look at Israel today is that, at my core, I never want people to suffer. And I have a great love of all people. I think like you, to me, all people are equal.
Well, I hate
no, we
all
hate a lot of
people. But I hate them all equally.
That is a good note.
But at the end of the day, when one side is advocating for genocide,
No, you can't go there.
I can't
You
do
can't go
that.
there or you're in with the devil. Hello, do you not get that?
And anyone who's seen, by the way, we have the example not just of the Holocaust, but the Rwandan genocide. I mean, when you talk about genocide, this is
The Armenian.
or the Armenian genocide that they still don't want to acknowledge, for goodness sake. What is it with the poor Armenians? They really are not going to give that one up, are they? They're just not going to give
There's
that one
always
up.
one they don't get. Well, there's always 2 or 3. Okay, there's 20 or 30. They're always in denial of what they do because they want no reckoning. They want no justice. They want no accountability. But, God's going to put it on them anyway.
But the puppet masters are all working together.
I know
So
they
the
are.
same people that tell you that, that Islam wants to kill you, behind the scenes, right at the upper echelons, they're all wheeling, dealing together. I mean, the global cult has factions from everywhere.
They're all at the Diddy White Party, girl.
They're all at the Diddy White Party.
Hell yeah, and they're all at Epstein's Island too.
So
Getting their freak on. Getting their freak on. Their boring fucking freak, as they call
it doesn't sound
It's
cool at all.
always the same thing.
It sounds
Can't
so
they
lame.
get anything but just a little sexual urge of a thrill?
Yeah, why don't they have
Can't
like cool
they
debates
get
or
a huge
something?
thrill like saving all of humanity
It's
thrill?
all jerking off. It's
I
kinda
mean,
lame.
It is kind of lame, I
It's
gotta say.
so lame. Do
How
something
many-
cool with that kind of money. Like have a party where people are exchanging cool ideas instead of just jerking off on a plane.
Okay, but
Build
think
barns or
about this.
something
Yeah.
for
These
towns.
people, okay, what's the one thing that is present in anything that you want to talk about when you look at that darkness? What's the one thing that is consistent? It's godless. Like these people, like
is
for me, I
godless.
wake up, look at this beautiful countryside where you
godless.
live, right? I wake up and I laugh at I laugh at myself because I think, like many people, I wanted proof that God exists.
Yeah.
But I look around me and I'm like, the proof is everywhere.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's literally everywhere.
That's why I love it.
I have 5 cats, and to each one of them, they're so funny. They have their own personalities.
I won't accept that cats are a godly
she's the wrong
invention.
person.
You
to bring
hate
up
cats,
She
I do
does.
hate them.
Because they're godly.
Well,
That's
I'm
what she
fear
is.
of. I'm afraid of them.
Wait,
They always jump on me.
I also have 5
They
dogs.
know I don't like them, so they jump on
They
me.
sense
because
that.
they're attracted to people that don't like them.
Yeah.
I don't
I know that because they're Jewish. I
You see.
guess. I guess cats
We have
are
to
like
wrap
the
up.
Everyone's
Jews.
Jewish to
I know.
Roseanne.
It is. Anyone
know
she
it.
likes.
In Roseanne's world, everyone is Jewish. Listen, I knew as I said it that you weren't a cat person. I was thinking, okay, she's going to say,
Are you sharing cat photos? Because I'm going to
No.
wrap this up if that's what
no, I'm
if we're
not
at
sharing
that point.
cat photos.
We can't do that.
No, I'm not doing that. Wait till I find it. I'm going to
Jake, go
find
get
it.
my fucking cigarette.
Yeah,
for
Jake, you
fuck's
said you
sake.
were going to get her
we have to
cigarette.
wrap
Get
up.
off your lazy
No,
fucking.
we have to wrap up.
Go get my cigarette.
Your daughter is coming here
I
soon.
don't care. Go get
No,
me
we
a
have
fucking
to.
cigarette.
We have to wrap
Get
up.
me a cigarette
not
to
not
wrap
kidding.
this son of a
Uh-oh.
bitch
You can
up.
wrap it up and we can go smoke
Go
outside.
get me a
No,
fucking
not
cigarette
doing
right
it.
now.
Not doing it.
Go do it.
Not doing it.
God Almighty!
We
look
have
at
to
him.
wrap up.
Oh, wait,
We
this
are
is
not going to
wait,
wrap
Roseanne.
up until I
What's
say we're
this?
going to wrap up.
You
I
know
have it.
Jenny's
you
coming.
had better go and get
Her
me
her
a cigarette.
daughter and grandchildren are on their way.
Okay, listen, I have a gift for you.
What
Okay.
is this gift? You have to give you time to
I
nap.
love you and I don't want to stop talking.
Well, let's
with
go talk
you.
outside.
I want to come back. We're neighbors.
I know, but we have to do something.
Okay,
Well,
We've
don't leave
got
Texas,
to
Mom.
help
It's my
Okay,
plan.
everything
Look,
we
this is a
can
gift
do.
for you.
What?
Laura and I
This
are
is for
working
you.
on never letting you
Sorry,
leave
I don't know.
Texas right now.
What is
Look on
it?
the other side.
What's
I
it
love
say?
cats.
That's yours now. Thank you for
Ew.
bringing that
I
gift.
do like watching them though. I'll watch them with my granddaughter. She's enthralled with them.
But they're fascinating.
They are fascinating, but they always jump on me because they know that I'm afraid of them. So I'm like, what's the matter with you? And I watch like people who love them and always go,
Yeah.
come here, kitty, kitty. They never
They
go
don't
to
want to come
them.
to them.
They only want to go and jump on me and then put their claws right into me. And I'm like, you're of Satan.
No, opposite. They're
and
of
I
God.
can't, I don't know why they do that.
They're
to me.
challenging you.
I know. I don't know. It's a cat thing. But you know what's fascinating to me, because I come from Africa? You watch lions and cheetahs and these big cats in the bush.
The same
and
thing.
It's the same
Yeah.
thing. You watch, they have, I mean, that
They're
just to me is
badass.
extraordinary. You know, how, like, look at all these this world that was created with everything in perfect sequence and harmony and balance. I mean, one thing goes wrong in your body and you can fix it, but this, like, everything around us is a miracle.
It is.
We're a
It
miracle,
is a miracle. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. In my Rosh Hashanah speech, I got the line directly from a download from God, I think. I know. But it was that he placed his name in our RNA and it's immortal. Because
Wow.
he did.
Which is why they want to mess with it, right? That's why
they're
want
so afraid of it. Well, they want to dismantle it and colonize it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's
So
funny.
we'll hurry up and off ourselves so they can get the insurance payout.
On that
They're
note.
we
just
can
so
we can take a
Perfect.
road trip. We can be like Thelma and Louise.
But we're
We're
not
just-
going to die at the end. I was so pissed at that movie. Let's redo Thelma
That's
and
the
Louise.
best
You know,
part
I
of the
was
movie.
pissed too. I didn't
We
like
don't
the end.
fly off the edge
I
of the
love that
world
part.
because we lose. Because like the only way women can win is by offing their fucking
No,
selves.
you read that wrong. It's like Butch and Sundance. You totally read that
No,
wrong.
we're
It's the
not
best
doing
No,
part.
I'm
that.
with your mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, it pissed me off too.
Well, it's
No.
women drivers. Of course, they're going to drive off the cliff. We have to wrap up.
Okay, well,
Please do
thank
it.
you so
your daughter and your grandchild are
Yeah,
coming.
you're going to be mad at me if I let you
I
continue.
love you so much.
I love you too.
I just see such light in you. And I'm so happy that you came on. And so let's do it again. We
Please.
gotta stir up some shit.
I'm in.
I
Just
know.
don't try and escape back to
Please,
Satan land.
me and Laura are already talking about keeping you here
Yeah.
in Texas. We're
Yeah.
working on it.
It's been on my mind
We're
since
keeping you in
I saw
Texas.
you last time. You're not escaping.
We're not letting you leave Texas
Yeah,
To do what?
at all. You can go to LA and help your daughter, and then we got to come back.
but you got to come back.
Yeah.
I was saying I wanted to go to Florida, but
Florida's
they're
fine.
just destroying Florida.
Texas is better. Listen to
Texas is better.
Laura. She's our neighbor. How cool
I
is
know,
this
you're
shit?
awesome.
We'll get a nice car. We'll get a fast car. Like
Okay.
Tracy Chapman said, we'll get a
Uh-huh.
fast car
We'll
and we'll
get a
drive around the
fast
hill
car.
country.
And then you'll
Let's
drive off
show-
a cliff like Thelma and Louise.
No, we're not
No,
doing
we're
it
not
over the
doing
cliff.
that.
We're going to make you stand in the road for target practice, Jake.
Laura, I love you. You're
You hit
amazing.
him this time, Roseanne.
You are profound. This was my
You are
favorite
such a
episode
great
ever.
guest.
Oh.
Thank you.
We love you. I'm gonna go get a damn cigarette.
Okay, I'll help you get the cigarette.
Okay, good.
All right, thanks.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you, Jake.
So you see, my patience is running thin.
So you see,